Chapter 212. Go get your head nurse. Suyu was a little angry. However, when the head nurse, Song Lin, arrived, she only apologized profusely and did not mention anything about Huamin. In the end, Suyu had no choice but to put down his pride and ask, Huamin, that brat, let her take care of me from now on. Don't let other nurses come over, they're as dumb as pigs. What young Master Su was implying was that Huamin was the only one among the nurses who had good skills and that she liked the most. Most importantly, Huamin was not an ordinary nurse. Although she did not have a doctor's license, she was a nurse who could perform cesarean sections on pregnant women. Just from this point alone, one could tell that her medical skills were superb. President Wu was right. With Huamin's current talent, it would be a waste of her talent to be a nurse. However, who asked Huamin to be willing? Hearing Suyu ask about Huamin, Song Lin was a little nervous. Young Master Su, I'm sorry, but Huamin, no matter what she thinks, just transfer her over. Money is negotiable. Just ask her how much she wants and name a price. Is 100,000 yuan a day enough? Suyu waved his hand, looking like he did not care at all. In fact, he was not confident because he knew that Huamin was not interested in money. Last time, when he used money to buy seaweed rolls, that brat refused to sell. It's not about money, young Master Su. As expected, Song Lin's answer was within his expectations. I don't believe that there's anything in this world that money can't solve. Suyu's temper flared up and he snorted coldly. Young Master Su, Huamin is different. How is she different? Don't they all have the same nose and bright eyes? She doesn't look good, her chest is pitifully small, and she has a bad temper. There's really nothing special about this kind of woman. Suyu commented stubbornly. Song Lin smiled and explained, Huamin's way of thinking is different from others. At first, I thought she was like that too, but later on, I realized that she's very strange. She works according to her preferences. Although her performance is outstanding, she can be quite willful at times. Actually, Song Lin was right. Huamin's character aside, his work was indeed outstanding, but his personality was too willful. No matter what she said, Song Lin refused to treat Suyu as an important person. There were a few times when Song Lin thought that young Master Su would burn down the recuperation center because of his anger. However, not only was Huamin careless, but she also directly refused to take care of Suyu. Her reason was that she was better at taking care of people with cerebral palsy than him. If Suyu himself knew about this, he would probably explode. Song Lin didn't know that Suyu already knew about this classic saying. Although he was furious, he still calmed down and asked Huamin to take care of him personally. That way, he would have more opportunities to interact with Huamin, and then take revenge. You're her boss, you can give her a strict order. Suyu looked at Song Lin and gave her an idea. But if I do that, she'll quit her job. I'll be in a difficult position, young Master Su. What? She'd rather quit than take care of me? Suyu's strong self-esteem was suddenly hurt. She's probably afraid that if she doesn't take care of you well, she'll be responsible. Young girls these days are very smart and don't want to take on too much responsibility, Song Lin explained gently. Okay, you can leave now. Seeing that Song Lin didn't have a choice, Suyu waved his hand and didn't want to waste any more time with her. He picked up his phone and dialed a number. Did you find anything? Sorry, young master, not yet. Her background is very simple, so I couldn't find anything. Could you be wrong? Suyu's face immediately darkened. Are you doubting my orders? No, young master, I was just thinking that such an ordinary woman shouldn't have any background. Chapter 213. What do you know? My deductions have never been wrong. What a bunch of useless people. Continue investigating. After hanging up, Suyu lay on the bed with a complicated look in his eyes. He treated Huamin differently. What piqued his interest was not the argument with her at the hospital, but her background. He did some research and found out that Huamin did not come from a good family. She had a younger brother and a mother. Her stepfather had passed away, and her biological father's identity was a mystery. For such a seemingly ordinary person to be able to turn the tables in an instant under the bombardment of the media and internet trolls, successfully clearing her name and turning her into someone of high status. First of all, the hospital did not have the ability to do such a thing. Second of all, Hu Min and Wu Zhongxing were not related in any way. That was very strange. Hu Min was just an ordinary woman. What kind of powerful force was secretly helping her deal with the aftermath? Previously, when he saw the news on TV, Su Yu vaguely felt that this little nurse's background was not simple. However, after coming into contact with Hu Min, he found out that she was an extremely strange woman. All of this piqued Su Yu's interest. He thought that he had to get to know her better. This was getting more and more interesting. Hu Min's refusal to be Su Yu's personal nurse instantly became the biggest news in the Southern Recuperation Center. During lunch at the cafeteria, Hu Min became an extremely rare existence in everyone's eyes. Everyone was pointing fingers at her. "Look, you've already become the news of our hospital," Nan Nan said with a smile. Hu Min did not say much. She just lowered her head and ate silently. She had already kept a very, very low profile, but she still could not avoid being the subject of gossip wherever she went. Hu Mion didn't know why, but it was as if it was fated to happen. "Hu Min, are you really not going to take care of Su Yu?" "Yes." In response to Nan Nan's question, Hu Min only responded with a simple yes. "But if you miss this opportunity, won't you regret it?" Although young Master Su has a bad temper, it's the dream of all the nurses at Southside to be his personal nurse. Do you know how many nurses are jealous of you? If they want to go, then they can go. Why are you jealous? Nonsense, they can't go. Do you think that young Master Su will take a fancy to anyone? By the way, young Master Su treats you quite well. You have given him so many injections, but he has never lost his temper. Do you have any unique skills? Nan Nan asked mysteriously. Hu Min looked helpless. He finished the last mouthful of rice on his plate and raised his head to look at the young lady opposite him. "I really don't have that." "Oh. Then it's probably because your technique is good that it doesn't hurt." "Hey, Hu Min, teach me, I want to learn from you. Please, that's the most basic skill. Didn't you learn it in medical school?" Hu Min was both angry and amused. Nan Nan had been a nurse for a long time, but she still had to learn from Hu Min. Hu Min really wondered if she had paid attention in medical school. Why didn't she know the most basic skills? It was fine if she didn't know, but why was such an inexperienced nurse hired by Southside? Was it just because she was good-looking? "Yes, I learned it. But young Master Su is different. He's harder to serve. Please, Hu Min." Unable to resist Nan Nan's pleading, Hu Min taught Nan Nan some of his acupuncture techniques in the afternoon after he finished taking care of the old man in Ward 2. The young lady went all out and began experimenting on her own arm. In the afternoon, her arm was densely covered with needle marks. After work, Hu Min was driving home when his phone suddenly rang. He glanced at it and saw that it was from Ning Jiyuan, so he didn't pick it up. 3 minutes later, he received another text message. It said, "Hu Min, I'm getting married to Wu Xiaoxue on the 17th of next month. It's on the 3rd floor of Shengjing Hotel. It starts at 9 a.m. Remember to come and attend." Chapter 214. For some reason, Hu Min's usual route home was especially congested today. She finally lost her patience and turned around to walk through a small alley. She bypassed the overpass and walked past GK's headquarters. The skyscraper was dozens of stories high, and when it was dark, it would light up with an aqua blue color. It was especially mesmerizing and looked like a water cube. It was said that this building had become the most iconic building in Sea City. What was even more ridiculous was that when tourists came to visit, they would come here to take pictures. It was as if this building had become a famous attraction in Sea City. Hu Min once joked with Qin Chu about whether GK should directly develop tourism. Qin Chu stubbornly replied that he didn't have time for that right now and would think about it later. When they passed by Qin Chu's company, the traffic was unexpectedly congested again. Perhaps it was because it was rush hour, so there were too many cars. Bored, Hu Min picked up her phone and scrolled through it. Suddenly, An idea popped up in her mind. So, she sent a WeChat message to Qin Chu. President Qin, I'm downstairs at your company. May I have the honor of having dinner with you? When Qin Chu saw the WeChat message, he was in the conference room discussing GK's jewelry release plan for the next quarter. Jiang Linyu vividly explained the details of the event, including the prices of a few popular jewelry brands, and the marketing trends after they were released. As soon as Qin Chu's phone rang, everyone looked over. Qin Chu only had one person on WeChat, and that was Huamin. He didn't even add Gao Ran, he just called him if he needed anything. After reading the WeChat message, Qin Chu quickly stood up and interrupted Jiang Linyu, I have to go out for a bit. You guys continue. President Qin, how can we continue if you leave? Jiang Linyu wanted to cry but had no tears. She prepared for this meeting for 2 whole weeks. She couldn't eat or sleep well because she wanted to perform well in front of the president and receive his praise. Qin Chu glanced at his assistant. Record the video and send it to my email. I'll watch it when I have time. That's all. After saying that, President Qin turned and walked out of the conference room, leaving more than a dozen executives in the room. Most of them seemed to have gotten used to the new president's style of doing things, although this new CEO would always leave halfway, or be late and leave early, and was unreasonably willful. However, it had to be said that GK's profits were skyrocketing. It was said that last month's profits had surpassed last year's profits. The old chairman even personally visited the company to inspect the company. It was obvious that he was very happy. Huamin looked at his phone for a long time without receiving a reply. He thought that Qin Chu was busy, so he didn't think much of it and drove away. Just then, someone knocked on the car window. She turned her head, her face full of shock. Why did you come out? Didn't you ask me out for dinner? Qin Chu asked seriously. To Huamin, it was just a joke, but to Qin Chu, it was the first time Huamin had asked him out for a meal after 7 years. How could he not come? But are you off work? Huamin carefully noticed that the lights in the entire building were still on. Perhaps all the departments were still working overtime. Qin Chu didn't answer. Instead, he walked to the front passenger seat, opened the door, and sat down. He looked at Huamin and asked, What are we going to eat? How about Arshin's ramen? Huamin asked out of the blue. The truth was, she wanted to eat it herself. Let's go, Qin Chu ordered as he pointed at the steering wheel. Therefore, Huamin's unintentional joke became a reality. Not only did he have dinner with President Qin, but he also had dinner with President Qin. He even had to be his chauffeur. Inside the noodle restaurant, the two ordered ramen and some side dishes and ate with relish. Looking at the students coming and going of second high, Huamin suddenly felt that it was good to be young. She ate so happily that she didn't even notice the soup stains on the corner of her mouth. Qin Chu put down his chopsticks, picked up a tissue, and gently wiped her mouth. Huamin looked at Qin Chu and felt like she had traveled back in time to 7 years ago. You're looking at me so affectionately. I have a feeling that you still love me, Qin Chu suddenly said. Chapter 215. That's why I said that you were just imagining things. Huamin replied awkwardly. Then, she buried her head in her noodles and didn't say anything else. Qin Chu's eyes were slightly disappointed. He knew that she still had feelings for him, but he didn't think that she wouldn't dare to face it or admit it. This also proved that she still hadn't let go of what happened 7 years ago. So, when would they be able to let go of the knot in their hearts? After dinner, Qin Chu and Huamin went home together. Qin Chu went upstairs to deal with work, while Huamin went downstairs to change into her home clothes and start cleaning. At 8:30 p.m., Qin Chu seemed to have finished his work and went downstairs to read the financial news. Huamin, on the other hand, was holding onto her tablet and watching a TV show. Then, she suddenly remembered something and said, Oh yeah, Ning Jiyuan called me today, but I didn't pick up. Then, he texted me. Who's Ning Jiyuan? Qin Chu looked up. Huamin was speechless. Here we go again. This guy always pretended to have selective amnesia in front of people he didn't like. With Qin Chu's intelligence, there was no way he would forget a person's name. He was just being arrogant and pretending not to remember. That's my top-notch XO. Is he trying to get back together with you? Qin Chu asked nonchalantly. Huimin shuddered. How could that be? He's going to marry Wu Xiaoxue on the 17th of next month. So, you want me to help you steal the bride? Come on, can you be more serious? Huimin was speechless at Qin Chu's nonsensical answer. Qin Chu glanced at her faintly and continued, if I wasn't serious, would you still be sitting here in perfect condition? Huimin, who thought of herself as a pure child, immediately understood what he meant. Okay, let's talk about something else. I'm just telling you, I don't plan on going to the wedding. You have to go to the wedding, Qin Chu said as she watched the news. Why? Aren't we going to have to spend money on the wedding gift? I'm not going to do that. Huimin didn't want to waste a single cent on someone like Ning Jiyuan. No, you have to go, and you have to spend more money, Qin Chu said stubbornly. Huimian was speechless when Qin Chu added, I want him to know how rich your husband is. I want him to know that leaving him was the right decision. I want him to know that no matter how hard he works, he'll never be richer than me. I want him to give up on any thoughts of breaking up with me. Huimin didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Qin Chu was so childish. He made it sound like she married him for money. Plus, Ning Jiyuan wouldn't be so stupid as to compete with the president of GK in terms of money, right? The next morning, Qin Chu went to work. Huimin was on vacation, so she had a lot of free time. She was wondering if she should eat with Lingling or go to school to see Jixin. Just then, her phone rang from an unknown number. Is this Huimin? A young man's voice came from the other end. That's me. I'm Huixi, he said. It's you. What's up? Huimin was quite surprised to hear that it was Huixi. She had never interacted with him before. Back at her grandmother's funeral, he provoked her, and she retorted back. Both of them didn't get along very well. She knew that SM cards used real names, so it wasn't hard for Huixi to get her number. However, this person called her out of the blue. Something bad must have happened. Chapter 216. Dad had a heart attack last night and was hospitalized. He's in the VIP room of the first hospital. Can you come and see him? He wants to see you. I'm not free, that's all. After speaking, Huimin quickly hung up. What did Hu Zhenghai being sick have to do with her? Didn't he have a bunch of filial sons? There was Hu Xiqian, Huixi, and that Hu Yangyang. She would be asking for trouble if she went. Plus, he never acknowledged her existence, so why should she go and humiliate herself? What identity would she use to go? What a joke. After the phone call, Huimin went home for some reason. On the way, she bought some fruits, vegetables, and beef. When she entered the yard, Yang Meiyong was playing mahjong with a few neighbors. The atmosphere was quite good. Mion, you're back. Everyone greeted her with a smile. Huimin smiled and went inside to wash the vegetables and prepare lunch. At noon, when only she and her mother were left in the house, she hesitated for a moment before saying, Mom, Huixi called me today. He's the boy that Shenjiani gave birth to. He said that Hu Zhenghai had a heart attack and is hospitalized. He wants to see me, but I won't go. I know that a lot of people might say that I'm unfilial and that I don't even care about my own father, but I don't want you to feel bad. I think that you and Jixin are the only family I have left in this life. I can't make you sad. Huimin's words moved Yang Meiyong a little. After hearing this, she didn't speak for a long time. She just ate in silence. After she finished eating, she suddenly said, Clean up and come with me to the hospital. We're going to see him. Huimin didn't expect her mother's reaction and was slightly surprised. Mom. Huimin seemed to want to persuade her. I know what to do, come with me. Then, Huimin cleaned up the dishes and went out with her mother to the first hospital. In the taxi, Huimin didn't say anything. She didn't know what her mother was thinking. Was it because he was sick that her heart softened and she wanted to bury the hatchet and talk about old times with him? Or was it because she saw that he was sick and received his retribution, so she decided to taunt him? But no matter what, Huimin thought, at this moment, she would support her mother unconditionally. No matter how cold and harsh her mother was to her, she at least raised her from a young age and provided for her food and clothing. The grace of raising her was greater than the heavens. She knew this better than anyone else and would always remember it. In the VIP consultation room of the first hospital, news of Hua Zhenghai's hospitalization was completely sealed off, so no media outlets knew about it. There were 2 bodyguards at the door. When Hua Min and the others arrived at the door, they saw Shinjiani coming out. When she saw young Meiyong, she smiled meaningfully. "Go in. He's waiting for you." Young Meiyong didn't say anything. She just glanced at Shinjiani coldly and walked in with Hua Min. Young Meiyong actually had a good foundation and was quite pretty. It was just that many years of living an ordinary life had worn away all of her beauty. Shinjiani was different. She was about the same age as young Meiyong, but because she lived in a rich family for many years and ate well, she looked at least 15 years younger than young Meiyong and had a different aura. When Shinjiani glanced at Hua Min, she glanced at her with mockery and disdain. Hua Min ignored her and followed her mother into the room. The moment Hua Zhenghai saw young Meiyong, the apple in his hand fell to the ground. "You." He was a bit shocked. "Mr. Hua, long time no see." Young Meiyong handed her bag to Hua Min and sat down on the stool in front of Hua Zhenghai with an elegant smile on her face. Chapter 217. Rong. Rong. Hua Zhenghai squeezed out the 2 words with a complicated expression. "You haven't been in good health these past few years. I often see news about your illness on the news." Hua Zhenghai smiled bitterly. "Yeah, I'm old and useless." Young Meiyong smiled. "How could that be? If you're useless, how could you have a son and a daughter with Shinjiani? Plus, the 2 families have been getting along well these past few years. You're actually quite successful as a person, but you're still a bit lacking as a father. Come, look, our Mion is already 24 years old." Young Meiyong reached out and pulled Hua Min forward. Hua Zhenghai looked up, and when he saw Hua Min, his expression was a bit complicated. Hua Min looked very strange. She didn't look like Hua Zhenghai at all, nor did she look like young Meiyong at all. It could even be said that she was more outstanding than the 2 of them. She wasn't like Hua Yangyang, who used money to decorate her face with microplastic surgery and makeup. She just had to wear no makeup, but her aura was enough to overwhelm everyone. Many women were jealous of Hua Zhenghai because of his love affairs. Gossip Entertainment once exposed that he kept 6 mistresses at the same time. Many of them had abortions for him, and a few of them were even sent to mental hospitals because of mental disorders. The drama back then was comparable to the harem of the Qing dynasty. Not to mention the scheming, in the end, not many of them came out unscathed. As one of Hua Zhenghai's lovers, young Meiyong was both lucky and unlucky. She was lucky that she gave birth to Hua Min and raised him safely. Unfortunately, all these years, Hua Min wasn't able to marry into the Hua family. In the eyes of outsiders, young Meirong's hopes of marrying into a rich family were dashed, and the gains didn't make up for the losses. However, many years later, it was a blessing to have a sensible daughter. "Mion, come here and call him Uncle Hua. He's more than 10 years older than your dad Jing." Young Meirong's introduction stunned Hua Min. Calling her own father uncle? Teaching her late uncle how to teach her father? His mother was clearly taking revenge. Although she knew it was inappropriate, Hua Min still greeted him obediently. "Uncle Hua." "Rong, what do you mean by that?" Hua Zhenghai felt a little depressed when she called him uncle. "It's nothing. I just wanted to say hello." Young Meiyong was still smiling brightly. "I know you still hate me." Hua Zhenghai sighed. "What's there to hate? Now that I think about it, I have to thank you. Thank you for being so heartless back then and teaching me to let go of my feelings. That's why I always say that people shouldn't talk about feelings, because feelings are nothing in the face of benefits. Even though I didn't have much money these past few years, I've been pretty happy. I have a son, a daughter, and a bunch of kind-hearted neighbors. But your health really isn't good. What's that saying again? It's not the time to take revenge, it's just not the time yet." After young Meiyong said this, Hua Zhenghai felt even more depressed. "I know you hate me, and it's only right that you do. But right now, I want to make it up to you. I know I've let you and Mion down. Rong, I was wrong. Thank you for all these years." Hua Zhenghai was emotional, and his eyes turned red. Don't say that, Mr. Hua. I've been fine all these years, so you don't need to make it up to me. I was the one who raised my daughter, and she has nothing to do with you. Let's forget about our past, but there's one thing I have to tell you, and it's something I'll never forget. Back then, after De got into a car accident, he desperately needed 100,000 yuan for surgery. I begged you in the rain, I kowtowed to you, I knelt before you, but you were so cold that you refused to help him. I often think that 100,000 yuan is nothing to the Hua family, but if you were willing to lend it to me back then, De might not have died. So, you already owe De his life. Hua Zhenghai, you heartless man, you will never have a good ending. I really want to see you die bit by bit, only then will I feel comforted. Yang Meiyong said each word with a stern expression, and in the end, she choked with sobs. Mom, stop talking. Hua Min couldn't bear to see his mother so emotional. He knew that she wasn't in good health, so he immediately went up to help her up. Chapter 218. However, if Yang Meiyong didn't tell him today, Hua Min wouldn't have known that there was such a story. Rong, I was blinded back then. Maybe I was too jealous of De. He's just my driver, why should he be with you? I don't want anyone else to touch my woman. I was jealous back then, and I know that I've let De down. Hua Zhenghai, who had always been heartless, was now able to face the past and was even repenting. Yang Meiyong was also in disbelief. She thought that after she said what she said, Hua Zhenghai would ask the bodyguards to kick them out. What's the point of knowing your mistakes now? De died 7 years ago, I'm afraid there's nothing left of him, Yang Meiyong said as she wiped away her tears. Mion, you don't want to forgive Dad either? Hua Zhenghai glanced at Hua Min. Uncle Hua, you must be joking. I'm just a commoner, how can I talk about forgiveness with you? Hua Min's words seemed normal, but they were actually more hurtful. Hua Zhenghai felt extremely sour when he heard Hua Mion call him Uncle Hua. Mion, I'm old, and there are some things that I don't want to regret. Everyone was once young, and everyone made mistakes. I hope to have the chance to repay you. Really, I've already given you shares of the Hua Corporation. As long as you're willing to come back, no need, we don't care about shares. Hua Zhenghai, at this point, do you still think that money can solve everything? Then you can live with your money for the rest of your life. Also, I really hope that after you die, Xinjiani will keep her chastity for you. Otherwise, with how flirtatious she is, I'm afraid that she'll cheat on you after you die. Instead of worrying about us, why don't you worry about your son and daughter and see if they can survive in Jiang Hong's hands? After speaking, Yang Meiyong grabbed Hua Min's hand and turned around to leave. Hua Zhenghai's face was gloomy. After Hua Min and Yang Meiyong left, Hua Zhenghai smashed a vase in the room, spilling water all over the floor. Yang Meiyong was amazing. Not only did she have a sharp tongue, she was also able to hit the nail on the head and point out what Hua Zhenghai was worried about. He was not in the mood to care about whether Xinjiani would find a man in the future. What he was worried about was whether his precious children would be ostracized by Jiang Hong and Hua Xiqian. In the evening Hua Xiqian came to visit his father. He held a small knife and peeled an apple for his father. Dad, eat an apple. Hua Xiqian smiled gently. But who knew what was hidden behind that gentleness? Hua Zhenghai knew that nurturing a tiger was inviting calamity. Back then, he had wanted to marry Xinjiani and his son and daughter. He had no choice but to negotiate with Jiang Hong. Jiang Hong adopted a son from her younger sister, Hua Xiqian. Over the years, Hua Xiqian had become his biggest obstacle whenever he wasn't paying attention. Moreover, it was impossible to get rid of him on the surface because on the surface, he was already known as the eldest son of the Hua family. He was famous for being a filial son in the circle. Even if Hua Zhenghai wanted to eat fish in the middle of the night, he would still drive the cruise ship out to sea. On the other hand, Hua Xi ate, drank, played around, picked up girls, raced, got into fights, and had a bad record. He was already a hopeless person. Even so, Hua Zhenghai was still unwilling to let his empire fall into the hands of an outsider. No matter how good Hua Xiqian was, he was not a descendant of the Hua family. Plus, his wild ambitions were obvious. However, it was not time yet, so they couldn't fall out with him. Therefore, They had to maintain this fake father-son relationship. How's the company? Hua Zhenghai asked as he took the apple. It's pretty good. I heard that you sent CI to the ordering convention in France next month. Yeah, he's a grown-up now. He needs to take responsibility and slowly manage the company with me. Hua Xiqian was still smiling. However, the more he smiled, the more uneasy Hua Zhenghai felt. It was like a ticking time bomb that could explode at any moment. CI is still young and reckless. Don't give him big business. He doesn't have the ability to do it for now. He won't, Dad. I think CI is very studious these days. I have high hopes for him. Hua Zhenghai was speechless. He didn't say anything else and quietly ate the apple. Dad, I heard that Sister Mion came by today. Hua Xiqian asked casually as he held a sharp fruit knife in his hand. Chapter 219. Hua Zhenghai's hand shook slightly as he ate the apple. Then, he sighed and said deliberately, "Sigh, I'm getting old and useless. I can't believe I miss Hua Min so much. Yeah, I could tell that she was a good girl at Grandma's funeral." Hua Xiqian smiled. "But that child doesn't seem to want to forgive me. I don't know if I'll ever hear her call me Dad again." Hua Zhenghai was a little moved. Hua Xiqian reached out and patted the back of Hua Zhenghai's hand, comforting him. "She will. Dad, don't worry, Mion isn't such a heartless person. She'll definitely come back, I promise." "Are you close to Mion in private?" Hua Zhenghai asked tentatively. "I really like her as a sister, but she doesn't like me. She won't even greet me when we meet. I don't have a choice. I want to get close to her and take care of her as her brother, but I don't even have the chance." "Oh." Hua Zhenghai seemed to be relieved. "What's wrong? Dad, did Mion say something to you?" "Nothing." Seeing Hua Zhenghai's expression, Hua Xiqian only smiled and didn't say anything else. On the way home, Hua Min took his mother to a mall near their home and bought her autumn thermal underwear and shoes. Yang Meiyong kept saying that it was enough and wouldn't buy anything. In fact, Hua Min knew that she was afraid that he would spend too much money. "Mom, don't worry, I've already transferred to another job. The salary here is very high, I can support you and Jixin. But you can't spend it recklessly. It's not easy to make money." Yang Meiyong sighed. In the end, under Hua Min's insistence, Yang Meiyong finally agreed to eat out at a restaurant. She only found a small dumpling restaurant and ordered 2 dumplings and a small side dish. "Mom, what you said today, was it true? Back then, did you really beg that heartless man for Uncle Jing's sake?" "Yeah, I was at my wit's end back then, and I was holding on to the last glimmer of hope." "Then you went there today to taunt and humiliate him, right? Have you vented your anger now?" Hua Min put a dumpling on his mother's plate. "I can only vent my anger if he dies. The hatred between us is too deep. But Mion, remember, I won't stop you. If you still care about our father-daughter relationship, you can go and see her. You are you, and I am me. I know the difference between us." "Mom, do you think he really wants to make it up to me?" Hua Min asked again. "He doesn't look like he's faking it. I've never seen him cry in all the years I've known him. Today, his eyes are red. Perhaps he's afraid that he won't be able to hear you call him Dad in the end." Yang Meiyong sighed. Hua Min looked at his mother and took a bite of the side dish. Then, he said slowly, "Mom, that's why I said that you're still too naive. He saw through your weakness. You don't think he's sincere?" Yang Meiyong was a bit surprised. Hua Min sneered, "Haven't you heard of a type of tear called crocodile tears? Today, he deliberately put on a show for us to see. He doesn't really want to beg for our forgiveness. He just wants to rope us in. Like I said, he wants us to get involved in the Hua clan's fight, then stand on his side and help him protect his son and daughter." "But, what if you guessed wrong? You didn't wrongly accuse him?" Yang Meiyong thought back to what just happened and felt that Hua Zhenghai's emotions weren't fake. "There's no way I guessed wrong. Who is he? Aside from the fact that he used to be your man, my father? He's a huge business tycoon. Do you think a person like him hasn't seen anything? Why would he care about love? He hasn't looked for us all these years. Now that the Hua family is in a civil war, He suddenly has a conscience and wants to acknowledge me as his daughter. At the end of the day, he saw through human nature's weakness. When Grandma passed away, he asked me to go back home to pave the way for a dark relationship. Mom, I'm not you. I won't be used. You're too stupid, and that's why you ended up in this tragedy. I'll show you his true colors. I'll also let him know that he's not the only one who's heartless. His scheme won't succeed, and he won't acknowledge me as his daughter. After speaking, Huamin lowered her head and ate the dumplings, one bite at a time. Yang Meiyong was dumbfounded. She knew too little about her daughter's thoughts. Sometimes, she even wondered if Huamin was really her daughter. Why was she so smart? She was so smart that it was scary. At 8 o'clock in the evening, Hua Yangyang drove Shinjiani's sports car to the hospital room. As soon as they entered the room, Hua Yangyang impatiently asked, "Dad, how did it go? Did those two idiots believe your act today? Did Huamin agree to come back and inherit the shares to help me and my brother?" Chapter 220. It's hard to say, I'm not sure what they're thinking yet. Hua Zhenghai wasn't sure either. Huamin and Huamion believed him. Shinjiani walked over and held Hua Zhenghai's hand with a gentle gaze. "Zhenghai, thank you for your hard work. It's all for the kids. What are you talking about? Where's CI? He's still preparing for his overseas work trip next month. I can tell that he's working very hard." Shinjiani tried her best to beautify Hua Ci's abilities in front of Hua Zhenghai. Hua Zhenghai nodded and didn't say anything else. He really loved Shinjiani and her children. Even though Hua Ci was a good-for-nothing and Hua Yangyang was arrogant and willful, he still thought of them as his real children. As for Huamin, he always had a disgusting thought in his heart. He thought that Huamin's daughter was unclean. After Yang Meiyong got pregnant and failed to force her to abdicate, he hoped that she would obediently give birth to his child. Who would have thought that she would run away with his lowly driver, Jingde, and even start a family of her own? Therefore, Hua Zhenghai always thought that Yang Meiyong had an affair with Jingde when she was pregnant with Huamin. Therefore, even if it was his own child, he couldn't bring himself to like it. This was also the reason why he didn't care about the mother and daughter all these years. After walking out of the first hospital's room, Hua Yangyang complained, "Mom, when is my dad going to stop pretending to be sick? He's not sick at all. Why does he have to pretend that he's sick? If it weren't for Huamin's help, would my brother and I really be in danger? What if she took the shares and didn't help, or helped Hua Xichen deal with us? I heard that auntie went to Huamin before. Do you think your dad is stupid? Of course he wouldn't think of that. Although the shares were given to Huamin on the surface, she doesn't have the right to use them or sell them. Plus, those shares are tied to yours, which means that as long as she returns to the Hua family and inherits the shares, she has no choice but to stand on our side. Will she take the bait?" Hua Yangyang was a little worried. "That share is worth hundreds of millions. What do you think?" Shinjiani was sure that Huamin would take the bait because of money. In her eyes, no one could resist the temptation of money. For a 24-year-old girl who was afraid of being poor, a 24-year-old girl who had no experience in life, that amount of money could really be spent for a few lifetimes. Why would she not agree? If Huamin agreed to help them, would the money really go to Huamin? The answer was no. How could Shinjiani let Huamin get the money that belonged to her children? Asking Huamion to come back and help was just a delaying tactic. She wanted Jiang Hong to lose control of the situation. Huamin still had to get out of the Hua family. Unfortunately, they did not know that their wishful thinking seemed to be too perfect. Huamin was not that easy to deal with. Even if Huamin comes back, our chances of winning are not very high. Mom, Hua Xichen is very scary. We have to think of another way. You know how scary Hua Xichen is. I told you to find a rich and powerful family to marry into and support us. While Hua Xichen is not married and does not have the support of his father-in-law's family, we should take the opportunity to strike first." Hua Yangyang immediately pouted. "Mom, marriage is the most important thing in a lifetime. I don't want to be hasty. Now you're pretending to be reserved with me. Haven't you always liked Su Yu? Don't you want to marry into the powerful Su family?" Shinjiani asked her daughter. Chapter 221. Of course I want to, but Suyu has too many women around him. I don't have an advantage over him. Hua Yangyang lowered her head, looking unconfident. Yangyang, it's not that I'm pressuring you, but from the moment you were born into the Hua family, you didn't have the right to talk about freedom of marriage. Your marriage should only be based on benefits. Don't talk about love. Yangyang, you're still young. When you're my age, you'll understand, Shinjiani advised earnestly. Mom, none of the men in my circle are good. All of them treat relationships like child's play. I really don't want to be married to them, but Suyu is different. Although he has many women, he doesn't care about any of them. Those women are like clothes to him. He doesn't have any feelings for them. He's handsome and rich. I want to be the princess that everyone looks at. More than that, I want to be Suyu's favorite, just like how Dad loved you back then. So many socialites were looking forward to the Su family. No matter how bad-tempered Suyu was, there were still countless women who were willing to bow down to him. Hua Yangyang especially liked Suyu's looks and arrogant personality. However, Suyu didn't even care about her. She didn't have a chance to get close to Suyu. Shunjiani thought about it and said, the Su family is great, but young Master Su isn't easy to get close to. He's unpredictable. I'm afraid it won't be easy for you to carry out this plan. How would I know if I don't try? I have a few girlfriends who hang out with Suyu's buddies all day long. I'll always find a way to make him interested in me. Also, I'm different from those women. I'm clean and have no negative news. Once Suyu is interested in me, I'll strike while the iron is hot. Not only do I want to be with Suyu, but I also want to marry him and get the support of the Su family. Isn't the Su family a family with only one son? I just want to get pregnant with Suyu's child. That would be for the best. Shinjiani nodded approvingly. They only cared about their own sweet dreams. They didn't even think about the fact that Suyu would never marry Hua Yangyang. Even if he was willing to marry her, Hua Xiqian would not agree. He would not allow himself to have such a strong opponent. Moreover, Suyu still didn't know who Hua Yangyang was. Not to mention having Suyu's child. If Hua Min were here, she would definitely say, Hua Yangyang, aren't you overthinking things? Hua Min had planned to spend time with her mother during her vacation. After shopping for a day, she bought some things and ate with her mother. In the end, the mother and daughter took the bus back home. Mion, why don't you stay over tonight? I'll make you some handmade noodles with mushroom and meat sauce, Yong Meiyong emphasized. Handmade noodles with mushroom and meat sauce was her mother's specialty. It was delicious. She made it every time when she was little. Every time she made it, she would eat 3 big bowls. Jixin would also fight to eat, afraid that it wouldn't be enough. Hearing her mother's words, Hua Min was slightly touched. She was about to agree to stay over tonight and spend time with her. Just then, she received a call from the hospital. Mom, something came up at the hospital. I'll go back and see you another day. Okay, be careful. Yang Meiyong reluctantly watched her daughter leave. After today's incident, she realized that her daughter didn't have it easy. She was unmoved by the Hua family's wealth. She felt very comforted to be on the same side as her. When they arrived at Southside Recuperation Center, Hua Min didn't even have time to change and went straight to room 2. Uncle Liu, why didn't you listen? Didn't you say that you can't eat sweets? You have high blood sugar and high blood pressure, and you're still recovering. You have to pay attention to your diet. I just ate a little bit of honey. Uncle Liu looked wronged. Chapter 222. Do you know how much sugar is in honey? I'm not trying to scare you, but if you don't take care of yourself, you'll die. I know. The old man nodded and didn't dare to talk back. Hua Min injected insulin into the old man's stomach. Then, she reminded him about his diet and threatened him, if you don't listen to me, I won't play chess with you anymore. You can stay here by yourself. I'll listen to you. The old man was like a child, and his words were childish. After comforting the old man in room 2, Hua Min walked out and stretched. Coincidentally, Suyu was walking out for rehabilitation with the help of the bodyguards. When Suyu saw Hua Min, he was about to speak, but Huimin turned her face away and didn't even look at him. This made him angry and frustrated, but because of his pride, he couldn't talk to her. Young Master Su, what do you want to eat tonight? I'll ask the chef to prepare it, the nurse, Nan Nan, carefully walked over and asked. Su Yu glanced at Huimin, who was sitting at the on-call desk, and said, I want to eat seaweed rolls. Seaweed rolls? Nan Nan was slightly surprised. Huimin didn't respond. Instead, she got up, grabbed her phone and keys, and walked out. Nan Nan, I'm leaving now. Uncle Liu's condition is stable now. Just pay attention to his diet. Okay. Then, Huimin walked out. When Huimin walked past, Su Yu childishly stuck out his foot. He wanted to trip her on purpose, however, Huimin seemed to have noticed this small movement. After Su Yu stuck out his foot, she stepped on it without hesitation. Ah, you stepped on. Young Master Su cried out in pain before he could finish his sentence. Huimin glanced at him coldly. Su Yu, how old are you? Su Yu's face immediately darkened when he heard this. If you're an adult, please, don't do such boring things. Doing these things will only lower your IQ. It's not good for your brain development. Nan Nan, go and report this to the head nurse. The patient in room 1 not only has a problem with his legs, but he also seems to have some mental problems. After speaking, Huimin walked out of the door in a carefree manner. Nan Nan secretly observed young Master Su. She noticed that his facial expression kept changing and he looked really good. Young Master Su, do you still want more seaweed rolls? Nan Nan asked carefully. Do I look like a seaweed roll to you? Su Yu asked snappily. Nan Nan was so scared that she dared not make a sound. The bodyguards didn't dare to move either. They were as helpless as robots. Su Yu took a deep breath and finally suppressed his anger. Come here, help me back. Su Yu waved at the bodyguards and walked back to his room. If she didn't see it with her own eyes, Nan Nan wouldn't have believed that Su Yu was so calm when Huimin mocked him. He wasn't angry, he didn't complain, and he didn't smash Huimin's head with a glass bottle. Could it be that Huimin was really Su Yu's natural nemesis? Everything had its nemesis. Even the head nurse, Song Lin, was shocked by this. Because of this, they were even more polite to Huimin. No matter what kind of patient he was, he would always be able to make them obedient. Because Huimin threatened to not play chess with him, the old man in room 2 took the initiative to eat light food and didn't dare to steal any more food. Huimin worked at Southside Recuperation Center for less than half a month, but he became famous. Gradually, news of him spread. Su Yu lay on the hospital bed and thought about what just happened. He wasn't angry anymore, and instead, he smiled. Ever since he was young, this was the first time someone said that he had a problem with his IQ. Huimin was the first. He turned on his phone and searched for the video that Huimin talked about in front of the first hospital a while ago. The young girl, who didn't have any makeup on, faced tens of thousands of reporters and calmed down the doctor-patient controversy with just a few words. For some reason, Su Yu found her expressionless face and melodious voice very special. In the end, the video stopped at Huimin smiling slightly at the media. Su Yu paused the video and looked at the video on his phone. The corner of his mouth twitched. Mion, Emichem, very good. My life will become more colorful because of your appearance. I'm looking forward to it. When Huimion returned to Imperial Park, Qin Chu was already back because the light in the study upstairs was on. Huimin took off his jacket and made a cup of coffee. He knocked on the door and asked with a smile, Hey, President Qin, would you like some coffee? Chapter 223. As soon as Qin Chu turned his head and saw Huimin, his gaze softened. I don't need coffee, can I have tofu instead? Qin Chu's jokes were always so serious. Huimin immediately walked in, blushing. He placed the coffee next to Qin Chu's mouse and poked his head with his finger. How can you be so relaxed when you're focused on work? You're not very good at being the president of GK. Didn't you say on WeChat that you were staying there? Huimin nodded. That was my plan, but something came up at the hospital, so I had to go back. It was pretty late by the time I finished, and my mom goes to bed early. I didn't want to wake her up, and I have to work tomorrow as well. Emchem, have you eaten? I did. I had a working meal at the hospital. What about you? I haven't eaten yet. I'm not that hungry, President Chin said as he looked at the information on his computer. Huamin stood beside him, curiously looking at the information on his computer. There were 3 pictures of rings. Perhaps it was because they weren't finished yet, so they weren't that pretty. Huamin looked at them seriously, and Chin Chu naturally placed his hand on Huamin's waist, gently hugging her. Then, he smelled her unique scent, and for some reason, his mood improved. These are the rings that GK will be releasing next month. Pick one out of the 3, which one do you think is the best? Chin Chu asked. I'm not an expert, you can choose. Huamin smiled. I trust your taste, pick for me. After looking at them all night, Chin Chu felt a headache coming on. The 3 designs were designed by 3 different people. The first design was a crescent-shaped ring with stars inside, designed by Jiang Linyu. It was called Stars Embrace the Moon. All young girls would like this dreamy design. The second design was submitted by a young design director from the southern branch of GK. It was a tear-shaped ring, romantic and sad at the same time. It was called the Devil's Tears. The third design was in the shape of a burning flame. The craftsmanship was more complicated, but it was more breathtaking. This bold design was made by a new designer from the overseas headquarters. Among the tens of thousands of works a while ago, there were 3 that stood out. As the CEO, Chin Chu had to personally select a flagship product and then officially launch it on the market. After a night of reading, each of the 3 works had its own advantages and disadvantages, so he had been hesitant. Since Huamin had just returned, he asked for her opinion. Huamin bent over in front of the computer and looked at it seriously. He said, then I'll comment. Don't laugh at me. Chin Chu unconsciously tightened his arms around Huamin's waist, as if he was afraid that she would run away. The first design is a bit old-fashioned, but there's nothing wrong with going old-fashioned in jewelry. After all, it's very expensive. Consumers don't dare to try new styles, so many people choose old-fashioned styles conservatively. The pattern of the moon and stars is very dreamy. Young girls will like it. It's more popular. President Chin nodded. Huamin continued, the second design is more interesting. The designer is probably an artist, and his work vividly reflects the sadness in his heart. However, not many people can understand it. The tears are melancholy, and broken tears represent endless sadness. After the work is released, it should be beautiful, but many people don't understand it and probably won't buy it. It's not something so interesting, but it would be a pity if it wasn't released. I think you can make a few of them and sell them as limited editions. Chin Chu nodded approvingly. Not bad, continue. I personally like the last design very much. The design is very bold, and the style is very stunning. However, such a complicated design should be very difficult to make by hand. If the price is too high, consumers might not buy it. In the end, they can only look at it from afar and not buy it. So, I suggest that you let a model wear this design first to promote it. The design can also be put in the store for exhibition. Once a customer wants to spend money to reserve it, you can make it after receiving the deposit. Overall, the first design is definitely suitable for the general public, and the last 2 designs are luxury goods that are more focused on quantity rather than quantity. Chapter 224. I was thinking the same thing, but the first one is too old-fashioned. With GK's current status, I think the industry will laugh at us if our new products are too unoriginal. As a businessman, profit is important, but so is reputation. So, I plan on promoting the third one. The second one is like what you said, it will be a limited edition. As for the first one, it will be used as a cheap piece of jewelry and will do some promotions to attract the public's attention. Huamin nodded in agreement. Chin Chu's ideas were always right. I'm suddenly hungry, I want to eat something. Chin Chu looked at Huamin eagerly, the hand on his waist becoming restless. If you're hungry, tofu alone won't fill you up. Huamin smacked his hand away and replied with a smile. Tofu fills me up, I like it, Chin Chu protested. His eyes were also filled with resentment. To his surprise, Huamin nodded. We do have a piece of tofu in the fridge, I'll make it for you. Then, Huamin turned around and went downstairs. Chinchu looked at her helplessly. Tofu wasn't tofu at all. She clearly understood what he meant, but she pretended not to. What kind of woman did he marry? She looked like a little rabbit, but was actually more cunning than a fox. Half an hour later, Huamin called Chinchu over for dinner. They made mushroom meat, vegetable and tofu soup, and 2 egg pancakes. Needless to say, Huamin's cooking immediately whetted Chinchu's appetite. The two sat down across from each other, and Huamin poured him a glass of water and handed it to him. Chinchu began to eat with relish. Hua Zhenghai is sick, my mom and I went to visit him today. Yeah. He wanted me to go back and said that he left me some shares. I think he couldn't handle Hua Xiqian and couldn't control the situation, so he had to think of me. He even put on a pitiful act in front of my mom. Your mom must have believed it, right? Chinchu guessed. Yeah, she's a little soft-hearted. She's a woman, after all, so she seemed a little moved. But after listening to my analysis, she believed my conjecture. Hua Zhenghai is definitely only looking for us for benefits. I won't be deceived by his lies. He's really capable of doing all this. All these years, he didn't care about you at all. In the end, he still wants to use you. It's really strange to have such a father. Chinchu really disliked the Hua family because they didn't treat Huamin well. Anyone who treated Huamin badly would always be Chinchu's enemy. Yes, so my attitude this time is very clear. Even if he calls me father, I will not help him. Chinchu chuckled. His wife was sometimes very cute when she spoke, wasn't she? What are you laughing at? I'm talking business with you. Is this the time for you to laugh? Huamin was speechless. So, honey, you've been working so hard all day, yet you still have to worry about these things. Should I do something for you? Do what? For example, give you a full-body massage to help you relieve your tiredness. Or, let's do some meaningful exercise to help you forget about these troubles for a while. Huamin was extremely embarrassed by Chinchu's explicit words. I don't need a full-body massage. You can give me more money. With more money, I won't be tempted by Hua Zhenghai's bullshit shares. Then, all of his schemes won't succeed. I have an idea. What is it? Huamin looked up at Chinchu, wondering what he was up to. Chapter 225. You can work at GK, and I'll give you the position of Executive Vice President. You can join the board of directors and own GK's shares, making all the other shareholders pale in comparison. That's true, 1% of GK's shares is worth many times more than 10% of the Hua Corporation's shares. I believe you. So, do you want to work? Yes, I'm very sincere in hiring you. What do you think of an annual salary of 50 million yuan? Wouldn't it be bad if people found out that you pulled strings for your wife? Huamin laughed. You're already my wife, why would I need to pull strings? Yeah, so, instead of being executive vice president, you should just be a young lady at GK. It's more relaxing and you'll get paid, Huamin joked. Chinchu didn't say anything else. He knew that Huamin wouldn't work at GK. He was just teasing her. After dinner, Huamin went upstairs to shower. When she came out, she looked at her phone and saw a text message. She opened the message and was dumbfounded. Your ICBC account number is 1040, and you've transferred 50 million yuan. Your balance is 53,006,000 yuan. 53 million yuan? She knew that 3 million yuan was the one that Chinchu asked the finance department to transfer to her every month. But what was with this 50 million yuan? She immediately got up and walked out of the door to see Chinchu reading the financial news downstairs. Did you just transfer money to my account? It wasn't me. That's impossible. Huamian refused almost immediately. Such a huge sum of money, who else could it be but him? Didn't you want to go against the Hua Corporation? I'll transfer some money to you to calm you down. Are you kidding me? It's too much, I don't want it. Take it. If your husband goes bankrupt, you can use it to help me make a comeback, Chinchu said as he sipped on his tea, as if 50 million yuan was as simple as 500 yuan. So, there really was a man who could willfully give his wife tens of millions of yuan. Huamin was confused. Was she a rich woman now? Qin Chu suddenly gave her so much money, and the reason was so good that it was hard for her to refuse. She suddenly thought of something and posted it on her WeChat friend circle. She wrote, "If a woman follows you and she's after money, give her enough money and she won't get angry and make a scene because you're with another woman. If a woman pursues feelings, you should give her enough love and security. She won't look down on you because you don't have money. If you can't give her money and love, but you want her to tolerate your laziness and lies, then I'm sorry, what you need is not a girlfriend, but a retard." As soon as she posted it, Zhu Lingling immediately liked it. Then, a phone call came in. "Girl, not bad. I feel that your words are meant for me. I've benefited a lot. You're overthinking it. I saw it on Weibo and thought it would be fun, so I posted it," Huamin explained. "I know, haha, I was just kidding. You've been busy lately, haven't you been on WeChat?" "Yeah, after I got transferred to Southside, there's been a lot of messy stuff going on. Let's have a drink some other day." "No problem, but you can't let Qin Chu know, he'll strangle me." "I won't strangle you, but don't worry, I have a better way to deal with you." Qin Chu walked into the bedroom without Huamin noticing. Huamin was so scared that she immediately hung up the phone. "Mr. Qin, eavesdropping on other people's calls is not a good habit. Then you going out for drinks behind my back is a good habit." Qin Chu crossed his arms and leaned against the door as he looked at Huamin. Huamin immediately felt guilty. "I was just brushing Lingling off." "Oh, brushing off your friends is a good habit," Qin Chu said on purpose. Huamin was immediately speechless. She thought for a moment and slowly walked over. She wrapped her arms around Qin Chu's neck and said coquettishly, "My dear Mr. Qin, if I kiss you, will you let me go out for drinks?" Before Qin Chu could respond, Huamin raised her head and kissed him. This time, she kissed Qin Chu's lips again. Qin Chu's first reaction was, "Huamin, you're crazy, you know?" Chapter 226. Qin Chu never thought that Huamin would take the initiative to kiss him, so his brain didn't react in time. By the time he realized what was going on and wanted to kiss her back, the kiss had already ended. Huamian let go of him and licked the corner of her lips, looking even more seductive. "Boss Qin, so can I go out for a drink with Lingling now?" Huamin looked at Qin Chu eagerly. "Your honey trap is quite ruthless." Qin Chu looked at Huamin's face and said word for word. Huamin immediately started laughing. "Did that woman Zhu Lingling teach you that?" Qin Chu was suspicious. "Do you think her IQ is higher than mine?" Huamin asked back. Qin Chu didn't say anything. Qin Chu. "Yeah. Can we go out for a drink? I won't drink too much, just a few glasses, okay?" Huamin acted coquettishly for the first time. Her voice was soft and fluffy, and Qin Chu's heart almost melted when he heard it. Ever since last time, he clearly saw Huamin's alcohol tolerance, so he was determined not to let her get drunk again. However, this was the first time this girl acted coquettishly. She kissed and hugged him, so he really couldn't bring himself to do it. In the end, after staring at each other for a long time, Qin Chu was defeated. "Okay, but it can't be like last time," Qin Chu didn't forget to warn her. Okay. Huamin nodded obediently. After receiving Qin Chu's approval, Huamin immediately felt much better. "Do you want to go out now?" He looked at his watch and saw that it was already quite late. "No," Lingling said, "another day." "Okay, try to go out during the day. Don't go out at night, I'm worried." After the two discussed the conditions, they both went to bed. The next morning Huamin drove to the office. Just as he finished punching in his card and was about to start work, he heard his colleague say, "Huamin, someone is looking for you." Huamin was a little puzzled. Who would be so insensible to come to her when she was at work? He saw a fiery red dress and 7-inch red stilettos. She was flirtatious and high-profile. "Huayang. Huamin frowned slightly. Sure enough, the woman turned her head. Her long hair was draped over her shoulders, and she was wearing exquisite makeup. Huayang was from the Hua family. Although she was dressed too ostentatiously, she still had an aura about her. "Huamin, let's talk." "But I'm working," Huamin replied coldly. She really disliked the Hua family. "Your job doesn't make much money. You can take an hour off, And I'll pay you 3 times your salary, Hu Yangyang said arrogantly. She picked up her Louis Vuitton handbag, took out a dozen bills, and asked arrogantly, "Is this enough?" Hu Min really wanted to slap her in the face and tell her that she had more than 50 million in savings in her bank account, so why the hell did she have to pretend to be so arrogant? However, Hu Min wouldn't do that, because she wasn't someone who didn't have manners. "I don't need the money. If you have something to say, just say it. Long story short, we're all busy." Hu Min looked at Hu Yangyang and said slowly. "This isn't a good place, let's go somewhere else," Hu Yangyang suggested as she looked at the busy entrance. So, Hu Min brought her to the back garden of the hospital. "Say it." Hu Min didn't hold back at all. "My dad's sick, you know that, right?" Hu Yangyang kept emphasizing that she was using her dad's name, as if she was afraid that Hu Min didn't know who she was. "Get to the point." Hu Min was a little impatient. "The point is that my dad's not in good health. He cares about his father-daughter relationship with you, so he wants you to come back to our house. You don't have to live with us, but you have the right to inherit a portion of my dad's shares. You know that those shares are very valuable, and even if I explain it to you, you might not understand. All you need to know is that my dad is being very kind and wants to give you a chance to get rich. In order to repay my dad's kindness, you have to stand on the same side as us and fight against Hu Xiqian, understand?" "Why should I?" Hu Min looked at Hu Yangyang provocatively. "Because you want to help us with the shares. There's no free lunch in this world. But I don't want those shares, and I definitely won't help you." "What? Are you kidding me? You don't want those shares? Idiot, do you know how much those shares can be sold for?" Hu Yangyang shouted in a sharp voice. Chapter 227. I don't care how much those things cost. It has nothing to do with me. "Miss Hu, please leave. Don't come here to look for me in the future. I don't want you to affect my work." Hu Min asked her to leave. "Shit, you idiot." Hu Yangyang was so angry that she cursed. "Hu Yangyang, you're a socialite. Please mind your image. Hu Min, don't be so shameless. My dad just took pity on you. He saw that you were so poor and had a younger brother who was a burden to take care of. I heard that in order to pay for his education, you had a lot of part-time jobs. When you were in school, you even worked part-time at a KFC. Also, that weird mother of yours, when she failed to force my dad to abdicate, she had an affair with my dad's chauffeur. After that, the two of them had a child. When she couldn't make a living, she wanted to blackmail my dad. She didn't succeed, so she spread rumors that my dad was a heartless man. You're so poor, but you still want to pretend to be rich. I heard that you drive a Volkswagen CC, right? Did you buy it with a loan or a second-hand car? Or are you being kept by some man?" Hu Yangyang was the vicious type. She was extremely snobbish and looked down on the poor. Previously, when they were in school, it was said that there was a classmate who liked her very much. However, because the boy's family background was ordinary and his parents were both civil servants, she used all kinds of sarcastic means to mock him. In the end, the boy couldn't take it anymore and jumped from the 3rd floor of the school, breaking his leg. What kind of character was she? "Are you done farting? If you're done, get lost. I'm afraid I'll throw up if I look at you for another minute." "What did you say?" Hu Yangyang was obviously shocked. "People like you have a good family background and a rich life. You should cherish it. Otherwise, if you continue to squander like this, you'll end up in a sorry state one day. Don't be so mean, or you'll be punished by the heavens," Hu Min said calmly. "Who are you talking about?" "Hu Min, you're just jealous of me. You're jealous that I'm the daughter of the Hu family and you're just a lowly nurse. Miss Hu, are you suffering from delusional disorder? Where did your sense of superiority come from? Why would I be jealous of you? Do you look like Zhong Manyu or Lin Qingxia? Is your husband Liang Chaowei or Li Zekai? Of the 3 of you, other than your mother who still has a brain, I think you and your brother are simply retarded. I suggest you eat more walnuts when you have nothing to do. Aren't you afraid of being laughed at by others for showing off your IQ? Also, for people like you to be able to survive until now, I have to say, Hu Xiqian is really soft-hearted." After speaking, Huamin turned around and left. Huamin, come back here. Who the hell are you calling brainless? Hua Yangyang was furious. However, Huamin didn't give her any chance to fight back. She had wanted to make a scene at the hospital, but she was afraid that the media would make groundless accusations, which would leave a bad impression on her. On the way back, Hua Yangyang was fuming inside the sports car. She didn't even discuss it with her mother when she got home. Instead, she made a bold decision. She made a phone call to a reporter that she was quite close to. That night, at 8:00 p.m., that reporter announced that she was Huamin's illegitimate daughter on Weibo. The reporter described her and her mother as an ugly mother and daughter who were completely greedy for the Hua family's wealth. They didn't even care about their own father when he was sick and only thought about how to get money. At the same time, some people even suspected that Huamin was able to avoid the scandal because of her identity as the illegitimate daughter of the Hua family. The report also claimed that Huamin and Hua Xiqian were quite close, so Hua Xiqian might have been the one who settled the scandal. It was an exaggeration, but many people believed it. After Hua Yangyang had enough fun at the nightclub that night, Xinjiani asked with a grim expression on her face, "Yangyang, were you the one who exposed Huamin's identity?" Chapter 228. Yeah, what do you think? I did a great job, right? That bitch didn't want to help us, but that's good, I'll make her infamous. Once our relationship is made public, she'll have no choice but to admit her relationship with my dad. It's only a matter of time before she comes back and inherits the shares. Silly, why don't you think about what would happen if she sided with Hua Xiqian? That's easy, we can get someone to run her over and kill her. Before she dies, we can find a lawyer and ask her to give us the shares, Hua Yangyang said casually, reeking of alcohol. Silly, you're still too young and don't use your brain. Xinjiani was furious, but she didn't want to slap Hua Yangyang. Inside the VIP room at Southside Recuperation Center, Su Yu looked at the hot topics on Weibo and smiled. Was she the illegitimate daughter of the Hua family? That was a fun identity. However, Su Yu felt like Huamin's secret was more than that. Huamin was working the night shift, so she was still at work when the incident happened. Lingling, Jixin, Huang Yu, and the head nurse of the first hospital called to ask about her. Huamin went on to Weibo and read the news. She couldn't imagine how stupid Hua Yangyang was. Even if she wanted to mess with her, she shouldn't have done something so brainless. It seemed like she had angered her during the day, and now she wanted to force her to admit her relationship with Hua Zhenghai. She didn't admit it back then, but now she was forcing her to admit it. The Hua family was truly despicable and shameless. Girl, are you okay? Zhu Lingling was worried and sent her a WeChat message. I'm fine. Who did this? They're so evil. It was Hua Yangyang. That bitch, I think I should go with you to stop her and beat her up to vent your anger. I've been pissed at her for a long time. It's okay, I won't do that. It's not good for her to mess with me like this. Let's wait and see, she'll regret it. Compared to other people's worries, Huamin himself appeared to be very nervous. While he was chatting with Huamin, Qin Chu called. Hello. Are you okay? It was obvious that Qin Chu was very worried. You also saw Weibo? Huamin smiled bitterly. She really didn't want to cause trouble because Qin Chu always helped her deal with the aftermath. But he was always in trouble. Yes, I've already arranged for someone to suppress this matter. I'll also defend you in terms of public opinion. Don't worry. I'm fine. Are you working the night shift tonight? Yes. I'll go with you. It's okay. Southside doesn't allow family members to come here. It's very strict. You don't have to come over. Just wait for me at home. I'll go back tomorrow morning and buy you breakfast. What do you want to eat? Huamin chuckled. At a time like this, Huamin was still able to talk about breakfast so casually. She had to admit that Huamin was very smart and calm. I'll make breakfast and wait for you at home tomorrow morning. That's all. With that, Qin Chu hung up the phone. That night, while Huamin was on duty, she was preparing some backup information. She knew that Su Yu must have done it on purpose. There were always women in his room, and there were endless bodyguards outside. What emergency could there be? Therefore, She dawdled for a few minutes before going over. What's wrong? She walked in, leaned against the door, and asked nonchalantly. I want to drink water. Pour me a glass. Don't you have hands? Please, you broke your leg, not your hands, Huimin retorted. You're very aggressive. What's wrong? Did you suddenly become the illegitimate daughter of a rich family? Did your temper grow because of the Hua family? Suyu asked. Upon hearing Suyu's words, Huimin's eyes changed slightly. Then, she turned around and answered as she poured herself a glass of water, wrong. For the past 24 years, the Hua family has never acknowledged me. My temper is just as bad. It has nothing to do with who I'm basking in. With that, Huimin handed her the glass of water. Then, she turned around and left. Huimin. What is it? Huimin turned around. If you beg me, I can take care of this for you within a minute. Suyu held the glass of water and looked at Huimin arrogantly. She wasn't bragging. If Suyu were to help, it would probably be done in minutes. Thank you. If you drink less water, pee less, and don't torture me, the nurse on duty, a few more times, I'll be immensely grateful. With that, Huimin walked out of the room. As expected, no matter how big of a problem she was in, she would never ask for help. Suyu quite liked her arrogant personality, but he was also angry that she wouldn't beg him. Women should be gentle when they needed to be, and give in when they needed to. When Huimin returned to the on-call desk, her phone kept ringing. When she picked up, the first thing Jixin asked was, Sis, are you planning to go back to the Hua family? Chapter 229. Where did you hear that? I didn't hear it from anyone, I just saw it on the news. No one has come looking for you for so many years, but now you've made such a big deal out of it. That family is so prideful, they'll probably come looking for you under the pressure of the media. Jixin, do you want me to go back? Hearing his sister's question, Jixin was silent for a while before he said sadly, to be honest, I don't want you to go back, but if you want to go back, I won't stop you. I'll also help you convince Mom. I still stand by what I said, I will always respect your decision. You little brat, don't make yourself sound so high and mighty, and don't think of me as a snob. Why would I go back? This is giving me enough headaches. Everyone in the Hua family is a scheming bitch. I'm dog-tired from work, and I still have to fight them with my wits and courage. Don't add to my troubles. Hearing the hidden meaning in his sister's words, Jixin immediately asked worriedly, Sis, what's going on? Can I help you? It's okay, just go to school and be a good boy. Mom and I don't have to worry about you. I know. Okay, then I'll get changed and get off work. Talk to you later. Okay. Jixin obediently hung up. This little brother of hers was actually a nice guy. He was always the first one to stand up for her when she was in trouble. Although he was still a child and couldn't help her much, the words he said always made Huimin feel very comfortable. Sometimes, she even thought that all these years of doting on Jixin weren't in vain. Their relationship was indescribable. They were even closer than those with the same father and mother. She hoped that Jixin would grow up quickly and that one day, she would be able to see him get married and have children. That scene would definitely be touching. However, she also hoped that time would slow down. Once Jixin stepped into society, he would have to bear a lot of social and family responsibilities. When that time came, he would definitely not be as innocent as he was now, because the incident happened so suddenly, Huimin felt that it was necessary to deal with it. Therefore, he changed his clothes and informed the head nurse that he was off work. Suyu didn't know that there was a change of night shift. At 10 p.m., he rang the bell for water. However, it was another nurse. Her face immediately darkened. Isn't Huimin on duty today? Young Master Su. Huimin went home. Something happened at home. The nurse was so scared that she didn't even dare to speak loudly. Get lost. Waving his hand, Suyu sent the nurse away. He couldn't sleep, so he turned on his phone to read the news. After the identity of Huimin's illegitimate daughter was exposed, there was a lot of negative news. Someone opened a Smurf account on a local forum and questioned Huimin's background. Could it be that Huamin had used this kind of power in the previous dispute between doctors and patients, causing the public to be unable to see the truth? When one person spoke out, there would naturally be others who would follow suit, causing the situation to get worse and worse. At the first hospital, the department's media went to surround them, but no one stood up to respond. Southside was also packed with people, but Huamin didn't seem to have any intention of responding to this matter. Suyu really wanted to see how Huamin would deal with this matter this time. Would he go back to the Hua family and rightfully inherit part of the Hua family's fortune, or would he continue to be arrogant and maintain his own style? When Huamin got off work, Qinchu wasn't home yet. He seemed to be very busy these days. Huamin wasn't in the mood for dinner, so she took a quick shower and crawled into bed. She was too lazy to read the news, nor did she want to. However, Lingling couldn't hold it in and called her to ask about the situation. She gave her a brief explanation. As soon as she hung up the phone with Lingling, she saw a familiar number calling her. "Hello." Huamin picked up the phone. "Little sister Mion, who's so ruthless this time? They're forcing you to come back. What about you? Have you thought about how to deal with this? Do you need your big brother to help you?" Hua Xiqian's tone was still frivolous. Chapter 230. No need. Faced with Hua Xiqian's offer to help, Huamin immediately rejected it. Don't be so stubborn. If you don't control the situation and let it develop, you'll be the one who gets hurt the most. It won't affect the Liang siblings at all. Plus, I think that even if you don't respond, they won't stop if they don't get what they want. They'll continue to put up a smokescreen to force you. Instead of being passive, why don't we take the initiative? We can work together and kick them out anytime. Mr. Hua isn't dead yet. Don't be so sure, Huamin reminded her coldly. I know, this has nothing to do with Dad. He won't directly interfere with this yet. He'll just sit on the sidelines and watch the tigers fight. But I'm guessing that Shenjiani didn't come up with such a brainless plan. It was most likely Hua Yanyan's doing. Huamin fell silent. She thought so too. When she thought about the unpleasant conversation she had with Hua Yangyang at the hospital during the day, she was the biggest suspect. Not only would publicizing these scandals bring inconvenience to Huamin's life, but it would also use the power of public opinion to force Huamin to make a choice. She could either return to the Hua family and acknowledge their relationship, or she could leave the Hua family forever and never return. Originally, she could choose directly, but at this juncture, Hua Zhenghai was sick. If she heartlessly cut ties with him, people would say that she was an ingrate who didn't even care about her own father. Huamin knew that this was a trap. No matter how she walked, it wouldn't be easy. Not to mention, she was too weak. Compared to Hua Yangyang and the others, she didn't have any connections or resources. Unless she needed Qin Chu to help her. But she really didn't want Qin Chu to help her. She thought that she was strong enough and couldn't live under Qin Chu's protection forever. Hua Yanyan's actions won't do her any good either. I'm not that weak, and I won't give in easily. It's still too early for her to defeat me so easily. But how can we exchange blows? Not bad, your courage is commendable. You can't be compared to Hua Yangyang. Even if we were to weigh your IQ, you're still 3 kilograms higher than her. However, I'm afraid this incident will bring you quite a bit of trouble. You'll be living in the eye of the storm just like last time. You're obviously not a public figure, but you'll be treated like one and cursed by the media and netizens. This is unfair to you. Hua Xiqian actually felt sorry for Huamin. She hadn't had a good life all these years. He had always wanted to help her, but she had always rejected him. Huamin laughed. Fair? How funny was young Master Hua's words. There's no such thing as fairness in this world. Hua Yangyang is also an illegitimate daughter of the Hua family, just like me. She was born from a mistress, but she can enjoy everything with a clear conscience. I, on the other hand, have nothing all these years, and I have to be ridiculed and cursed. So, how can there be fairness? If that's the case, then you should take revenge on them. These people are only going to suffer the consequences of their actions. I won't take revenge on them, but I will definitely teach Hua Yangyang a lesson. But I won't work with you. I still stand by what I said. I won't participate in your civil war. Don't even think about trying to rope me in. I haven't said anything yet. You don't have to be so nervous, haha. Hua Xiqian laughed. He laughed at how cute Hua Min could be when she was being silly. If there's nothing else, I'm hanging up. Mion. His voice was abnormally gentle. Hua Min listened in silence. Mion, if you can't take it anymore, just come and find me. I will definitely help you. Don't count on Qin Chu. Don't place your hopes on a man who once abandoned you, understand? Hua Min hung up the phone with a bang. No wonder Qin Chu called him a pervert. It seemed like he was seriously ill. She really wanted to correct him. Qin Chu never abandoned her. 7 years ago, she was the one who let him go first. 7 years later, Qin Chu was the one who took the initiative to pursue this relationship. Qin Chu didn't owe her anything. It was just that there were too many obstacles between them, so it hadn't come to fruition yet. Late at night, Qin Chu came back from overtime. When he entered the bedroom, Hua Min was already asleep. Qin Chu stared at her clean face. Finally, he lowered his head and gently kissed her forehead. Hua Min rolled over and tightly wrapped her arms around Qin Chu's neck. Chapter 231. Qin Chu was slightly startled. He thought that she had woken up, but she didn't move for a long time. When he lowered his head to observe her, he realized that she was still in a state of deep sleep. Qin Chu sighed slightly. Just how magnanimous was his wife? So much had happened outside. She was still able to sleep peacefully. Her mental fortitude wasn't ordinary. In the end, Qin Chu lay down next to Hua Min and hugged her tightly as if he was hugging a rare treasure. He couldn't bear to let go of her for even a moment. Don't worry. No one can hurt you. Qin Chu's voice was gentle and hoarse. It was doting and infatuated. In her sleep, Hua Min seemed to have telepathy. She buried her head in Qin Chu's chest and snuggled closer. Qin Chu raised his hand and stroked her slightly messy long hair. His movements were very gentle, afraid that he would wake her up. The next morning, Qin Chu left early because he had to drive out for an inspection. When Hua Min woke up, all she saw was a delicious breakfast, but Qin Chu was nowhere to be seen. Sometimes she thought that the two of them living together like this was just like roommates. Sometimes they wouldn't see each other for a few days. They would leave early and return late. Where was the sweetness of a newlywed couple? With that thought in mind, Hua Min took a sip of milk, picked up her phone, and sent Qin Chu a WeChat message. Your whereabouts have been strange recently. Don't tell me you're having an affair. Do you have a mistress? Just as she put down her phone, she heard a ding. It seemed that Qin Chu replied instantly. If I did, what would you do? Would you be angry? Qin Chu asked back. Because they were communicating via text, she couldn't tell if he was joking or half serious. Hua Min laughed and replied jokingly, as long as I'm alive, they can only be concubines forever. After a while, Qin Chu replied, I thought you'd ask for a divorce to fulfill my wish. You want to do that? Hua Min asked tentatively. No, I won't divorce you. Even if you don't love me one day, I won't divorce you. There's only one person I'm obsessed with in my life, and that person is Hua Min. Hua Min was originally joking when he sent the message, but when he suddenly saw Qin Chu's affectionate words, he was suddenly at a loss. She felt her heart beating wildly, just like the feeling of being confessed to for the first time when she was a young girl. Her cheeks were burning. Ha, I'm just joking. How could that be? You've invested so much in me. It would be a loss if we got divorced. Oh right, you seem to be very busy recently. Have you had breakfast? Don't just worry about me, you have to take care of yourself. Hua Min changed the topic. Recently, there's a case that's quite complicated. I have to go to the scene every day and come back for a meeting. Okay, it's time for me to go to work. After ending the conversation with Qin Chu on WeChat, Hua Min drove out. There seemed to be a lot of reporters at the entrance of the hospital, so she carefully avoided them. Inside the on-call room a few young nurses gathered around. Because Tingting had known Hua Min for a long time, she curiously asked, Hua Min, is what the media is saying true? Are you really Hua Zhenghai's illegitimate daughter? Oh my god, then you're the daughter of a rich family. Chapter 232. Huamin bit her lips and smiled awkwardly. She did not admit or deny it. Then you're Hua Xiqian's sister? Oh my god, you're lucky. Do you have his contact number? Do you have his WeChat? Give it to me. A few nurses came over and argued. Huamin was helpless. Sorry, I don't have it. I don't contact him. Huamin, if you're really a member of the Hua family, why are you a nurse? The Huas are so rich. You should be a socialite like Hua Yangyang. Women were always gossipy. Huamin did not seem to want to answer. Just then, the head nurse, Song Lin, walked over. Don't you have to work? Head nurse. The nurses were so scared that they retreated to the side. Go back to your posts. It's working hours. Song Lin showed her courage and scared the nurses away with a few words. Then, she glanced at Huamin and asked softly, Are you okay? I'm fine, head nurse. If you need to take time off, just tell me. No, I'm fine. Alright, I'm relieved to see that you're doing okay. As for young Master Su, he's not doing very well. He doesn't like other nurses. He hasn't taken any medicine or done any 4 drips for the past few days. He even cancelled his follow-up checkup. I'm thinking that if you were to go, the results might be different. You're the only nurse who has successfully injected him. So you're saying that you want me to take care of him? Huamin was a little conflicted. I'm just telling you. If you don't want to, then forget it. Song Lin was a smart person. Naturally, she would not be too stubborn. However, after hearing what she said, Huamin felt a little embarrassed. Then I'll give it a try. I'll try my best to complete the mission. After speaking, Huamin buttoned up her lab coat and walked over to room 1 with the medicine. When the bodyguards saw Huamin, they were secretly delighted because they realized that only this nurse could deal with their young master. When Huamin pushed open the door and entered, Su Yu was reading the newspaper. He looked quite serious. Get out. Without even looking at her, Su Yu thought she was one of those women who wanted to climb up the social ladder. Huamin didn't say anything. He walked over, twisted open the medicine bottle, and took out a few pills. There's a saying that it takes 100 days for bones and tendons to heal. Although your ligament strain isn't a big deal, you can't underestimate it. You have to do a follow-up checkup and take medicine. Hearing Huamin's voice, Su Yu raised his head, a faint joy in his eyes. You still have the time to care about me? Have you dealt with your own matters? Su Yu deliberately asked with a straight face. So, is it really okay for a man to be so gossipy? Huamin asked as he stared at Su Yu with his arms crossed. What kind of gossip is this? Didn't the news cause a sensation in the city? How are you going to deal with it? How I deal with it is my own business, you don't have to worry about it. Hurry up and take your medicine. I still have to play chess with the old man next door. Everyone is busy, don't waste time. Huamin urged impatiently. Su Yu didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He really wanted to ask, what kind of charm did the old man next door have to make her ignore him? Chess. I know how to play too. Why don't we play a game? No. Huamin rejected him directly. Why? Su Yu refused to accept it. Because if I look at your face for too long, I'll get depression. With that, Huamin turned around and left. You. Su Yu wanted to say something, but before he could say anything, Su Yu stopped him. Huamin turned around and said, Don't stop taking your medicine. Then, he slammed the door shut. Su Yu glanced at the medicine on the tray and the warm water Huamin brought over. He frowned slightly, but in the end, he still picked it up and drank it. This woman always had this kind of magical courage that made him obediently follow her wishes. Even if she only cared about him at work and didn't care about him, she was still much better than those hypocritical women who approached him with ulterior motives. Also, he really wanted to know how Huamin was going to deal with this illegitimate daughter storm. Huamin didn't go home after work. Instead, he went straight to the first hospital. Inside the VIP room, Hua Zhenghai didn't seem surprised to see Huamin walk in. You're here. He looked at Huamin with a complicated expression. Chapter 233. Mr. Hua, there's something I want to talk to you about in private, Huamin said meaningfully as he glanced at Huaxiai beside him. Huaxiai didn't think much of it and sneered, if you have something to say, just say it. I'm not an outsider, I'm my dad's son. I'm not an outsider like you. Huamin only looked at him coldly and retorted, you make it sound like you're not the son of a mistress. What did you say? Huaxiai was just like Huayangyang. He wasn't calm at all and was extremely arrogant. He was used to throwing his weight around. As soon as he heard what Huamin said, he immediately exploded. Fortunately, Hua Zhenghai raised his head and suppressed his anger. Ci, leave us for a second. Dad. Hua Ci was obviously unwilling. Go out, I have something to say to her as well. Hua Zhenghai's expression was serious. Hua Ci glared at Huamin and left the room unwillingly. Hua Zhenghai glanced at Huamin and asked, you came here because you thought I was the one who leaked the news, right? Huamin shook his head, no, I know Huayangyang did it. It has nothing to do with you. I just came here because I have something to say. Your mother came by this morning and I could tell that she was very agitated. She thought I was the one who did it and that I wanted to force you to come back. She yelled at me like a dog. She hasn't changed at all, she's still as bad-tempered as ever. Hua Zhenghai calmly explained the situation. His calmness was very suitable for his age and status. After all, he was a businessman who had seen a lot. I'm not sure about my mom, she didn't call me. I came here today to express my personal opinion. What are you trying to say? What I want to say is, instead of putting your hopes on me and asking me to help them, why don't you teach them how to protect themselves? From what I see, Huayangyang and Huaxiai are so stupid that it's only a matter of time before they die in the hands of Huaxiqian. If it weren't for you, they would have been kicked out a long time ago. On the surface, what Huayangyang did doesn't benefit me because everyone is talking about how my mom didn't sacrifice my scandal in order to get closer to the Hua family. However, this doesn't affect anything. On the contrary, I can use this opportunity to come back to the Hua family, but I might not be the best assistant. Do you think I would be stupid enough to help them after what they did to me? Also, if people dig into this matter, then Hua Yanyan's mother, Mrs. Shen, will be exposed for interfering in your marriage with Mrs. Hua. Only Hua Yangyang would do something like this that harms both herself and others. I'm worried about her intelligence, so I advise you to keep her in check. Otherwise, she might end up in a terrible state. Every word Huamin said was like a knife to the heart, making Hua Zhenghai's heart race. There were pros and cons in this matter. Huamin was a commoner to begin with, so even if she was insulted and blamed, it would still be the same. However, Hua Yangyang was different. If her scandal was exposed, she would go from being a genius to being the daughter of a mistress. Moreover, Hua Yangyang wasn't married yet, so this matter might directly affect her marriage in the future. After hearing this, Hua Zhenghai fell into deep thought. After a while, he looked up at Huamin and asked, even if I beg you, you won't come back and help me? Even if it's just to help me? What do you think? Huamin sneered and asked back. Chapter 234. What if we make a deal? Don't worry, I won't let you help me for free. I can send you a lawyer's letter, and I'll really give you the shares. You just have to agree to stand on Yangyang and Ci's side. Those shares are worth at least a few $100 million. Hua Zhenghai didn't believe that Huamin was smart enough to not want his inheritance. Huamin smiled. I'm sorry, Mr. Hua, I lack everything except money. To me, the few $100 million in shares you're talking about isn't as good as the 20 years of fatherly love you gave me. Hua Zhenghai was a bit ashamed. Fatherly love? He didn't have that. He only liked Hua Yangyang and Hua Ci. He just couldn't like Huamin, even though he knew that she was smart and shrewd. Don't worry about it, I was just joking. Uncle Jing is very good to me, just like my father. I don't need that. Okay, that's all I have to say. This is just a piece of advice, it's up to you whether you want to take it or not. There's one more thing I have to tell you. What is it? Hua Zhenghai looked at Huamin in confusion. Your mistress and daughter are so aggressive, I think, it's time for me to fight back. After speaking, Huamin smiled confidently and turned to leave. Huamin was calm and composed, and his words were very logical. Hua Zhenghai suddenly felt emotional. If only Hua Yangyang had half of Huamin's intelligence, she wouldn't be in this situation where he had to worry about her all the time. Unfortunately. What a sin. At night, Huamin stayed at home, watching cartoons and eating potato chips. It was as peaceful as any other day. Qin Chu was still working overtime and hadn't come home yet. Just then, his phone rang. It was Ning Jiyuan again. After ringing for a long time, Huamin finally picked it up. What is it? She thought that he wanted to emphasize that he and Wu Xiaoxue were getting married. He was really persistent. Unexpectedly, Ning Jiyuan asked about something else. Mion, are you really Hua Zhenghai's daughter? Huamin immediately knew what Ning Jiyuan meant. He smiled wickedly and replied, yeah, I even went to the hospital to look for him today. He even said that he wanted to give me some shares. I was thinking, what's the point of having so much money? I can't even spend it all. Why didn't you tell me about this before? Ning Jiyuan sounded like he was complaining. You didn't ask me, did you? Huamin was amused. I really feel that we missed a lot. Wu Xiaoxue and I are not what you think. I don't love her. Ning Jiyuan suddenly said. Huamin nodded. That's right. Maybe you just want to have a child with her. This isn't love. Such blatant sarcasm left Ning Jiyuan speechless. He said, Mion, are you still mad at me? Huamin was just about to say something when he heard the sound of the key opening the door. He immediately hung up. As expected, Qin Chu came back. Why are you sneaking around? Qin Chu was a little nervous when he saw Huamin. Nothing. Huamin was a little guilty. I think I heard you talking on the phone. Was it that sick-looking ophthalmologist? Are you Detective Conan? Huamin wanted to cry. How could he guess that? Was he even human? So, you did something so shameful. Are you going to apologize or what? Qin Chu took off his jacket, straightened his tie, and asked in all seriousness. Huamin immediately lowered his head, thinking about how to deal with it. What do you want to eat tonight? I'll make it right away. Huamin wanted to be on his best behavior, so he turned his attention to dinner. Steamed Huamin. Qin Chu sat down next to Huamin on the sofa and said nonchalantly, Qin Chu, stop messing around. Huamin pouted and looked at his handsome profile. If steaming it is too troublesome, you can just dip it in wasabi and eat it like salmon. Honey, don't do that. Huamin finally decided to deal with Qin Chu. On the 107th day of their marriage, at 7:25 p.m., Huamin called Qin Chu honey for the first time. As expected, Qin Chu's expression changed slightly. Even his eyes darkened. Chapter 235. He tilted his head and looked at Huamin. He sighed slightly and said, One day, I will die by your hands. President Qin, why would you say that? Huamin looked like he had been wronged. Qin Chu helplessly reached out his hand and pinched Huamin's collagen-filled cheeks. No one could compare to her intelligence. It all depended on whether she wanted to use it or not. When it came to Qin Chu, she knew all too well where his weakness was. No matter what, even if she was wrong, she could still be so self-righteous about it. Most importantly, she could soften Qin Chu's heart with one sentence. Qin Chu's heart melted when he heard her call him hubby. He wasn't in the mood to think about why Ning Jiyuan called him just now. Plus, he trusted Huamin from the bottom of his heart. He had dated Ning Jiyuan for so long, but they never broke through the last line of defense. Yet, she was willing to move in with him and even sleep in the same bed as him. This proved that in Huamin's heart, he was special. So you're not angry anymore? Yes. Qin Chu nodded. Actually, Ning Jiyuan didn't call me for anything. He probably saw the news recently and found out about my relationship with the Hua family. He's probably regretting that he didn't get any benefits from me back then. Huamin tilted his head and calculated. In the future, there's no need to talk about unrelated people. It seemed like Qin Chu was still slightly jealous. Huamin immediately wrapped his arms around Qin Chu's neck and smiled fawningly. Yes, Mr. Qin. That night, things took a turn for the better. Huamin's guess was right. After this incident was dug up, some nosy people found out that Shenjiani had interfered with Jiang Hong and Hua Zhenghai's marriage in order to climb up the social ladder. In the end, she openly moved into the Hua family with her children. After this incident was exposed, it caused quite a stir. However, Shenjiani was more powerful. Before the public opinion reached its climax, she took Hua Yangyang on an interview. During the interview, she cried about her grievances and difficulties. She said that she and Hua Zhenghai were truly in love and that Mrs. Hua allowed her to move into the Hua family. She wasn't the scheming woman that the internet made her out to be. As soon as she saw the public side, Shenjiani couldn't hold back and jumped out to clear her name. This was indeed their style. That night, Hua Mion called her mother and had a long talk. The next day, when the media went to interview young Mei Yong, she really wanted to yell at that scheming bitch Shenjiani. However, Hua Mion repeatedly reminded her not to do that. Sometimes, silence was the best response. Otherwise, it would only make things worse. Southside Recuperation Center Su Yu had been very free lately. Without the extravagant nightlife, he paid attention to the gossip every night. He had been following Hua Min's incident. He had expected the situation to turn around today. However, Hua Min hadn't responded or made a move. This made him even more curious. It seems like the power behind this hasn't made a move, Su Yu exclaimed. Ever since the doctor-patient incident, Su Yu vaguely felt that there was a mysterious power behind Hua Min. At this thought, he picked up his phone, found Hua Xiqian on WeChat, and sent him a message. That sister of yours is very interesting. There's finally a decent woman in the Hua family. Are you talking about Hua Yangyang? Hua Xiqian immediately replied. Hua Min, Su Yu replied with 2 words. Hua Xiqian didn't reply. Instead, he called. How's your recovery going? You're very free. You even have the time to use WeChat. Hua Xiqian teased. He and Su Yu were in the same circle. They usually hung out together. They weren't buddies, but they weren't strangers either. It's good. I like it here. Su Yu's lips twitched. You know Hua Min? Hua Xiqian asked. Yeah, she's my personal nurse, Su Yu said deliberately. Hua Xiqian smiled. Really? What a coincidence. Your sister is really nice. If I say that I want to date Hua Min, will you support me? On the other end of the phone, Hua Xiqian's expression changed slightly, and his gaze turned sharp. Chapter 236. Your taste has been dropping lately. My sister isn't that good looking. She's just plain noodle soup. You get sick of eating too much meat. Plain noodle soup suits my taste, Su Yu retorted. Alright then, since you're interested, go ahead. It wouldn't be bad if you became my brother-in-law. Hua Xiqian laughed. After hanging up, Su Yu played with his phone as his mind raced. As far as he knew, the power behind Hua Min was not to be underestimated. Was it really Hua Xiqian? On the surface, Hua Min and Hua Xiqian didn't seem to have a good relationship, but Su Yu always felt that there was something strange about the relationship between the siblings. Perhaps Hua Xiqian had been helping Hua Min because of the Hua family's internal conflict. After hanging up, Su Yu suddenly remembered something and sent a WeChat message to Hua Xiqian. Give me Hua Min's WeChat ID. Isn't she your nurse? Why don't you get it yourself? Of course, if I could get it, why would I ask you? Su Yu rolled his eyes at his phone angrily. I don't have it either, I only have her phone number. Doesn't her WeChat ID include her phone number? Su Yu was curious. No. Seeing Hua Xiqian's reply, Su Yu was completely speechless. Fine, WeChat ID wasn't her phone number. Such a twisted style was indeed Hua Min's style. He picked up his phone and dialed a number. I don't care what you do, I want you to find Hua Min's WeChat ID in 3 minutes. As expected, 3 minutes later, his phone received a text message. It was a string of numbers. Su Yu typed in the number and found that it was Hua Min. Her profile picture was a picture of a teenager. She still looked the same as she did many years ago, with her ponytail and white t-shirt. Such a silly look. Su Yu smiled and pressed the identity verification button. After a long time, he still didn't get a reply. He got anxious and added it again. It said, Su Yu. The person on the other end directly refused to add a message and replied with 2 words, not familiar. Su Yu was so angry that he was speechless. This was the first time he had taken the initiative to add a woman on WeChat. One had to know that those women were proud of adding him on WeChat. Huamin, just you wait, he threatened. Huamin was about to fall asleep on the other end. He glanced at the screen and muttered to himself, crazy. The next morning when Huamin woke up, the situation changed again. It turned out that Hua Xiqian's adoptive mother had accepted the interview. Those words in the interview were a slap to Shinjiani's face. She did not admit that she had acquiesced to Shinjiani moving into the Hua family. She also did not admit that she had a bad relationship with Hua Zhanghai. She even pointed out that some people would do anything to climb up the social ladder. Shinjiani did not think that Jiang Hong would go against her so directly. She ran to the hospital to complain to Hua Zhanghai. Although Hua Zhanghai cared about his mistress, he did not dare to blame Jiang Hong because of the Jiang family's influence. He could only persuade Shinjiani to stop making a fuss and quickly calm down. Huamin did not respond from the beginning to the end. He also did not allow his mother to respond. Therefore, after a few days, the impact of the incident was not as big. A few nurses at the hospital tried to ask her about Hua Xiqian's private life, but she did not know anything. When she was taking care of the old man in room 2, she would also pick up medicine for Su Yu. Every day, she went to see Su Yu when she was the most unwilling. She did not want to coax that pretentious old man. Huamin, why didn't you add me on WeChat? Su Yu asked as soon as he saw Huamin walk in. What law in China says that I have to add you on WeChat? Huamin did not even look up. He placed the medicine on the tray and poured a glass of warm water. Take your medicine. If you add me, I'll take it. Young Master Su began to throw a tantrum. It doesn't matter if you take it or not. It's not like you're giving it to me. Obviously, this method did not work. Su Yu was so angry that his teeth were itching. Huamin, I called Hua Xiqian last night and told him about you. As expected, when he heard Hua Xiqian's name, Huamin stopped in his tracks. Seeing that there was hope, Su Yu deliberately mystified, Hua Xiqian seems to treat your sister differently. Huamin's expression changed when he heard this. Chapter 237. Finally, Huamin turned around, glared at Su Yu, and said something domineering. I think I've been too lenient on you lately. Su Yu was speechless. Was this damned girl trying to threaten him? Hua Yangyang and Shinjiani were enough to give Huamin a headache. Now that Su Yu mentioned Hua Xiqian, it really added to her psychological burden. Zhu Lingling had asked her on WeChat how she planned to deal with this matter. Her answer was to deal with it coldly, which meant that she wouldn't respond and let the matter end. But now, it seemed like Shinjiani and the others wouldn't give up until they caused some trouble. Huamin was thinking of a counterattack plan to protect herself and slap them in the face. Just as she was thinking about it, a statement on the internet caused a sensation. Hello, friends from all walks of life. Because the recent events have caused a lot of trouble for society and me personally, I'm making a statement to give everyone an explanation and to give myself justice. Although my surname is Hua, I haven't been in contact with the Hua family for many years. Other than the last time when my grandmother passed away and I sent her off, I don't have any financial dealings or disputes with the Hua family, and I won't participate in the so-called inheritance fight. Please don't make assumptions that will negatively affect me and my family. In the future, I will continue to live my current life and will not respond to this matter. Today, I promise that I won't return to the Hua family, won't participate in any of the Hua family's profitable investments, won't take a dime of the Hua family's shares, and won't return to work at the Hua Corporation. Please return me to an ordinary life. Thank you. Huamin signed the last 2 words. The entire statement was written in Huamin's tone, so it was more vivid and realistic. Although the signature wasn't Huamin's, no one doubted it. After all, if someone else had written it on his behalf, they would be held accountable by the law. Huamin was very happy to see such a statement that matched her thoughts. Other than Qin Chu, she couldn't think of anyone else who could guess what she was thinking and give her such a statement at such a critical moment. She immediately picked up the phone and dialed a number. 3 seconds later, the call was answered. Hello. Qin Chu answered the phone. I saw the statement. It's written really well. There's only one sentence missing. Which one? You should have just written that I want to sever all ties with the Hua family and never contact them again. If you write that, it will make you seem narrow-minded and people will gossip about you. It won't be good for public opinion. I'm just kidding. I know you're very thoughtful. That statement, I think, it wasn't written by your company's public relations team, right? You were the one who thought about every word for me, right? Huamian asked gently. At least you have good taste. Almighty Qin was proud again. This statement was carefully written in his notebook during lunchtime. After confirming that it was correct, he posted it online. Because of Qin Chu, this statement was quickly reposted by all the major media outlets and instantly seen by everyone. Qin Chu. Yeah. I really want to thank you, but I won't say it this time. You said before that I shouldn't always say thank you to you. I'm your wife, so it's natural for you to protect me. But you're so good to me, I don't know what to do. I just don't want you to get hurt. I know, I'm too useless. I call myself a genius, but I'm always in a deadlock and need you to help me out. I'm thinking, if you didn't come back and were still in the States, what would I do? No, your assumption isn't valid. I'm already by your side, and I'll never leave you. Huamin held onto the phone, her eyes slightly teary. Let's have dinner together tonight, it's my treat. After speaking, Huamin hung up the phone. The corners of Qin Chu's lips curled up slightly. He knew that his baby was touched again. It was just a statement, but this statement expressed what Huamin wanted to say. Because Qin Chu personally wrote it, everything was different. In the evening, Huamin rushed home. She changed into a dark blue shirt and black wide-legged pants. She looked like a professional white-collar worker. Just as she was about to leave, she received a call from Hua Xiqian. He seemed to be calling Huamin a lot lately. Huamin thought that he wanted to teach her a lesson because of the statement she made earlier today. However, he suddenly said, "You better quit your job at Southside." Why? Huamin didn't understand. If you don't want to get into trouble, then don't have any interactions with Su Yu. He's really not suitable for you. Chapter 238. You make it sound like you're the most suitable person for me, Huamin replied coldly. Hua Xiqian fell silent. I'm telling the truth, Mion. I'm telling the truth too. Didn't you tell me not to get too close to Qin Chu? In your eyes, no man in the world is better than you, right? But they can hurt you. Then who won't hurt me? You. Huamin retorted bluntly. If you're willing to come back, I'll protect you. All right, stop right there. Who doesn't know what you're planning? You should have seen my statement today, right? From now on, I don't want to have anything to do with the Hua family. You're on your own now. After speaking, Huamin decisively hung up the phone. When she went downstairs, Qin Chu's car had just arrived. Huamin walked over, opened the door, and sat in the passenger seat. What's wrong? Qin Chu asked, noticing that something wasn't right. Nothing, I just received a harassing call. Qin Chu nodded and didn't say anything else. He turned the car around and drove out of the neighborhood. What do you want to eat? I'm treating you today, of course I'll pick something you like. Huamin smiled. Is Japanese food okay? Of course. Huamin wasn't picky about food. When she went out to eat, she was fine with anything. So, when Qin Chu mentioned Japanese food, she immediately nodded. 15 minutes later, the car stopped in front of a very high-end Japanese restaurant. The two of them entered an elegant private room. The decoration of the tatami mats was unique. A very popular Japanese song was playing. Although Huamian didn't really understand it, it was quite nice. During the meal, Huamin and Qin Chu chatted. Qin Chu, you call me Qin Chu when you don't need me, but when you need me, you call me hubby. Huamin, how obvious are you to burn the bridge after crossing it? Huamin, hearing Qin Chu's words, Huamin felt a little embarrassed. She coughed lightly and said, Hubby, I've always been the one causing trouble for you after we've been married for so long. Will you ignore me one day when I run out of patience? Do you think I'd do that? Huamin shook his head. I know you won't, but sometimes I hate myself for always getting into trouble. What's wrong with that? I'll help you deal with the aftermath. Qin Chu took a small sip of the sake. Huamian sometimes wondered if she had saved the galaxy in her previous life. Did she save the galaxy in her previous life? How did he meet a tall, rich, and handsome man like Qin Chu? After Qin Chu's statement was released, Qin Chu used his connections and methods to get news reports to come out in the afternoon and evening. Most of them tried to clear Huamin's name. However, no matter how much Shenjiani acted or cried, she couldn't change the fact that she was a mistress. Hua Yangyang was notorious in the industry. She was so angry that she didn't dare to leave her house for days, afraid that people would point fingers at her. Huamin had already made it clear that there was no point in him pretending to be sick in the hospital. Do you know when I wanted to go back to the Hua family the most? Huamin asked casually as he held his phone and accidentally saw the news of Hua Zhenghai's discharge. Do you still want to go back to the Hua family? Qin Chu was curious about this. Huamin nodded. Then, she continued, it was 7 years ago, when we were passionately in love. At the time, your mother looked down on my family background. The truth is, I despised myself too. Back then, I had a beautiful dream that if Hua Zhenghai took me back, I would be a socialite like Hua Yangyang. Maybe then, your mother would agree to us being together. Huamin held a small teacup with both hands as she said this, looking like a little girl. She looked cute and pitiful. You didn't expect me to be so vain, did you? Huamin playfully stuck out her tongue. Qin Chu's gaze was slightly pained. Mion, don't say any more. Chapter 239. You know, I've never despised you because of your family background. But your mother did, or else Uncle Jing wouldn't have died. If Uncle Jing hadn't tried to save me back then, I would have been the one who died, and I wouldn't be sitting here today. Mion. Qin Chu felt cruel when faced with this painful past. He had tried his best to make up for it, but he knew that this was still a nightmare for Huamin that she couldn't forget. All these years, she carried a heavy psychological burden with her, but what could he do? The mastermind behind all this was his mother. Could he go and kill her? That was unrealistic. Qin Chu, I didn't mean to bring this up. Sometimes, I just hate my family background, and I hate Hua Zhenghai for not giving me a proper identity. Now that I'm all grown up, it's no longer possible for him to use me. I understand. I know that you're the only one who can understand what I'm saying. Otherwise, I wouldn't have written such a statement. Sometimes, I don't think I'm that pathetic. At least in this world, there's someone who understands me. He knows what I'm thinking. He's willing to listen to all the pain I'm going through. He's also willing to accompany and soothe the wounds in my heart. Huamin was usually out of it, and whenever Qin Chu said something affectionate, she would subconsciously avoid it. Now that she took the initiative to say these things, Qin Chu didn't know what to do. Qin Chu, if one day, I have nothing left, and you're the only one left, will you still be willing to be with me? Of course. Me too. If one day you have nothing left, if you're no longer the president of GK, Dr. Qin, or the omnipotent Mr. Qin, I'm still willing to be by your side. Even if the whole world betrays you, I'll betray the world with you without hesitation. So, Ms. Huamin, are you confessing to me? After listening for a while, Qin Chu felt like this girl was confessing to him today. Let's eat. I'm starving. Huamin changed the topic again when they were talking about the passion part. In order to prevent Qin Chu's enteritis from relapsing, she specifically told him to eat more mustard to kill bacteria. The two of them had a good dinner. During that time, her brother sent a WeChat message saying that he and his mother were very happy after seeing the announcement. This matter should be over. Shenjiani and Hua Yangyang could not cause any trouble no matter how much trouble they made. Everyone knew that Huamin was the illegitimate daughter of the Huamin family, but Huamin didn't think it was embarrassing. This was something that happened more than 20 years ago. Now that it was brought up, it was nothing more than a purposeful publicity stunt. After this incident, who would care whose daughter she was? Besides, the statement clearly stated that she would never return to the Hua family and had nothing to do with the Hua family, so naturally, no one would try to get close to her. She believed that the nurses at the nursing home would not pester her for Hua Xiqian's phone number. After dinner, the two of them walked out of the restaurant hand in hand. The night was very windy, so Qin Chu took off his jacket and put it on Hua Min. Then, he held her hand and got into the car. Qin Chu's car was the only royal-style Maybach in the city, so the license plate number was very obvious. When they passed by a fork in the road and stopped for a red light, Lady Qin sat in the black Bentley and frowned slightly. Old Song, look. Is that young master's car? I think so. The Bentley driver glanced at the license plate to confirm. Why is there a woman in the car? Let's go and take a look. Lady Qin vaguely saw a long-haired woman sitting in the front passenger seat of her son's car. She immediately perked up. Chapter 240. The driver, Old Song, immediately changed lanes and chased after the Maybach after hearing Qin Chu's words. Qin Chu inadvertently glanced in the rearview mirror and noticed something fishy. They were going to go straight home, but Qin Chu immediately made a sharp turn and headed in another direction. Hey, you're wrong, this isn't the way home, Hua Min quickly reminded him. We're not going home. Since we have time, let's go for a drive. Hua Min was speechless. Was it really a good time to go for a drive on a cold night like this? However, she believed that Qin Chu knew what he was doing. Therefore, she didn't ask any more questions. She watched as Qin Chu zigzagged through alleyways and onto main streets. Hua Min immediately understood something. She looked at the rearview mirror. So we were followed. That's my mom's car, Qin Chu said. Oh. When it came to Qin Chu's mother, Hua Min seemed to be born enemies with her, and they both disliked each other. Hua Min didn't even want to say a word about her. After driving in circles for more than 10 minutes, they finally lost the black Bentley. Qin Chu drove around Rainbow Square before returning to Imperial Park. Old Song, what happened? Lady Qin wanted to see what woman her son was with, but the car was gone. She began to panic. I'm sorry, madam, young master drove too fast, and we only took small roads and one-way streets. We lost him. Forget it, let's go back first. Back at the Qin Manor, the first thing Lady Qin did was take out her phone and dial a number. Jiang Linyu was putting on a facial mask. When she saw the caller ID, she immediately picked up and politely said, Madam, were you in Chu's car just now? Lady Qin probed. It wasn't me, Jiang Linyu answered honestly. Oh, I just saw a woman sitting in the passenger seat of Chu's car. I thought it was you. The truth was, Lady Qin knew that Jiang Linyu had long hair. The woman in the car had shoulder-length hair, so they were two completely different people. She only asked to see if Jiang Linyu was telling the truth. Luckily, she was honest. Oh, it should be a client from Taipei today. He's the person in charge of a cooperation project. Boss Qin has been busy this morning. I think Assistant Yang arranged the meeting for tonight. Jiang Linyu reacted quickly and immediately made up a person. She also wanted to know who the woman in Qin Chu's car was. Is that so? Then I must be thinking too much. Have you and Chu made any progress recently? President Qin treats me very well. It's just that the company is too busy, so I don't have much private time. It's good to be busy, but you have to take care of yourself. Girls need to take the initiative. Chu is not that unreasonable. You're so beautiful, he'll fall for you sooner or later, Lady Qin said earnestly. I know. Thank you for your concern. After hanging up the phone, Jiang Linyu thought for a moment and dialed Qin Chu's number. Qin Chu and Hua Min had just arrived home. He looked at the caller ID and didn't recognize the number. Hello. Hello, President Qin, I'm Jiang Linyu. What is it? President Qin took off his jacket and spoke in a formal tone. Mrs. Qin just called me and said that she saw a woman in your car. I explained that she was a client from Taipei. Got it. Before Jiang Linyu could finish, Qin Chu hung up the phone. Jiang Linyu bit her lips. She didn't want to give up after being rejected again and again. Qin Chu was just about to sit down and turn on the TV to watch the financial news when he heard a scream from upstairs. Upon hearing Huomin's scream, Qin Chu immediately got up and ran upstairs. Chapter 241. Mion, what's wrong? Qin Chu anxiously knocked on the door of the washroom. I. Huomin was too embarrassed to say it out loud. What's wrong? Qin Chu was so anxious that he was about to die. Qin Chu, my period came early. Huomin wanted to cry, but no tears came out. Her period always came on time. She remembered that it was still 4 days away. However, it suddenly came today and caught her off guard. So, what do I need to do? Qin Chu didn't know what to do either. A woman's period wasn't something that a man could help with. I don't think we have that at home. Can you go buy some for me? Huomin couldn't come out because her pants were soaked, so she could only hide in the washroom. Okay. Qin Chu awkwardly said okay and went downstairs. 5 minutes later, Huomin's phone rang. Hello? What brand do you want? Qin Chu asked in all seriousness. Anything is fine. What about the length? At least 38 centimeters. 4-day use or night use? 1 pack of each will be fine. Okay. Then, Qin Chu hung up the phone. Huomin felt that it was really tiring to have such an awkward conversation with Qin Chu. This man didn't seem to know anything. She couldn't blame Qin Chu for this. This was the first time in his life that he had ever bought something like this. Not only did he find that there were many brands, but there were also different lengths, day use, and night use. The textures were also divided into gauze, cotton, and silk mesh. There was too much information here, too complicated. After waiting for another 5 minutes, Qin Chu came back. When he handed Huomin the bags from the washroom door, Huomin was dumbfounded. There were more than 20 packs. Why did you buy so many? Huomin was speechless. Save it for later. All right. You really know how to plan ahead. 10 minutes later, Huomion finally slowly walked out of the room. Qin Chu pointed to a bowl on the tea table and said, "Drink it." What? Huomin was stunned. Poison. Huomin, is it brown sugar water? Looking at the dark red color, Huomin guessed. Why are you still asking if you already know? You actually know how to boil sugar water for me. You're quite knowledgeable. Huomin looked at Qin Chu, amused. I just looked it up on the internet with my phone. It said that it's good to drink this during your period. Alright, Boss Qin, you're really considerate. You're almost as considerate as my Shubao. Qin Chu frowned slightly. What's a nurse's treasure? It's nothing. Huomin didn't say anything else. She picked up the bowl and drank the entire bowl of brown sugar water. This was a gift from her Adonis. When they got into bed that night, Huomin looked at Qin Chu and said hesitantly, I'm on my period today, so it's not convenient. Can you sleep in your bed? You make it sound like I can do anything when you're not on your period. Huomin, go to sleep. Why do you have so many things to do? Before Huomin could say anything, Qin Chu crawled under the covers. Huomin lay down nervously. She was on the night shift the last few times she was on her period, so she avoided him. This was the first time she was on her period. It felt a bit weird sleeping with Qin Chu. Huomin lay flat on her back. Her waist felt sore. On the first day, she would have period pains. Also, she lost a lot of blood, so she couldn't sleep because she didn't dare to move around. Suddenly, a warm hand covered her abdomen. It scared her. I heard that this reduces the pain. After Qin Chu spoke, he gently rubbed her stomach. Huomin didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Did you look this up on the internet? Yeah. Honey, can we talk about something in the future? Go ahead. Can you stop looking up all this nonsense on the internet? I'm on my period, not in the 3rd trimester. You don't have to be so pretentious. After Huomin spoke, she rudely removed Qin Chu's hand from her stomach. It wasn't that she didn't want Qin Chu to do this, but her stomach was too sensitive. His hand was directly placed there. She felt like she was going to break down at any moment. Qin Chu sighed slightly and said, "The internet is right." "What's right?" Huamin curiously tilted her head and looked at Qin Chu. "Don't try to reason with a creature that bleeds 7 days a month and doesn't die. Women are the most powerful beings in the universe." Huamin was once again shocked. Therefore, she really should consider cutting off the internet at home. Qin Chu going online was a tragedy in itself. The next morning, when Huamin arrived at the recuperation center for his shift, he ran into a familiar face. When he saw Huamin, he was also stunned. "Wei Dong." Huamin was a bit surprised. Chapter 242. Huamin. "Why are you here?" "I transferred here a long time ago. I'm no longer at the first hospital." "What about you? Why are you here?" "My dad had cerebral thrombosis a while ago because of excessive drinking. He was treated in the hospital for a while and the results were pretty good. He wants to recuperate here in the future. I heard that this place is very good for recuperation in the future." "Yes, that's right. This place focuses on the combination of diet and medicine. The environment is also good. With an authoritative expert in this field, it's definitely much better than at home." "Yes, but it seems like you don't have a ward here." "The neurosurgery department has one." Wei Dong scratched his head embarrassedly. Ever since he didn't lend Huamin money last time, he felt that he was particularly unmanly. It was very embarrassing that he couldn't keep his promise. Therefore, he didn't talk much in the WeChat group. After Huamin and Qin Chu both left the group, he felt much more at ease. However, Zhu Lingling, who knew about it, would occasionally make a few sarcastic remarks. He didn't expect to meet Huamin here. He also saw the things that Huamin frequently reported a while ago. However, he knew that as long as Qin Chu was here, Huamin would be fine. The truth was that Huamin was indeed scared but not in danger every time. "I see. Wait a moment, I'll go ask." After that, Huamin returned to the on-call desk and called the head nurse. The head nurse meant that there were beds available in the neurosurgery department, but the allocation was based on the patient's identity and status. If the patient didn't have any background or power, they would usually be sent away with the excuse that there were no beds available. "Head nurse, can you help me put in a good word? This is my classmate's father. He has cerebral thrombosis and wants to recuperate. It's not easy for old people." "Okay, I'll call the neurosurgery department for you." Fortunately, the head nurse was a good person. After a while, she called Huamin back and said that she would help her get a ward. "Wei Dong, I've reserved a ward for you. It's in room 9. You can take uncle there directly." "Really? Thank you, Huamin." "No, go ahead. Uncle's condition is critical. I'm in the orthopedics department here. If there's anything, call me at any time." "All right." Because of Huamin's help, Wei Dong successfully helped his father stay in the hospital. He was very grateful, but at the same time, he was embarrassed to face Huamin. At noon, Huamin didn't have time to go to the restaurant for lunch. Just as he was looking at the report, Wei Dong walked over with food. "I bought you lunch. You don't have to be so polite." Huamin raised his head and smiled. "You're welcome. It's nothing expensive. I remembered that you liked to eat shrimp dumplings when you were in school, so I bought some for you when I drove out to buy lunch for my dad." "Thank you." Huamin took the lunchbox with a smile. "Huamin, about what happened before. I'm really sorry." "Before? Oh. It's okay, it's all in the past. You don't have to apologize to me. It's really nothing." To be honest, Huamin never hated Wei Dong. Sometimes, she even felt lucky that Wei Dong didn't lend her money. Otherwise, she wouldn't have been able to be with Qin Chu. In the end, it was Wei Dong who helped her and Qin Chu be together. "But my feelings for you are real. I can only say that. I didn't have the luck to marry a goddess." Wei Dong was a little regretful. If his opponent wasn't Qin Chu, and if his opponent wasn't so strong, he wouldn't be willing to give up just like that. "What goddess? Don't flatter me. I'm just a nurse right now." Just then, Wei Dong's phone rang. He said goodbye to Huamin and walked out while answering the phone. Huamin opened the lunchbox and ate the shrimp dumplings with relish. She doesn't look like much, but she sure is good at seducing men. Suyu just happened to see the scene from before. Although he couldn't hear what they were saying, he saw the man give Huamin food and Huamin smile at the man. To be honest, he was actually a little jealous. Huamin looked up at Suyu and said bluntly, "You're a stud horse, so don't shamelessly mock others." "Stupid girl, who are you calling a stud horse?" Suyu was furious. Chapter 243. Who am I talking about? You know what you're talking about. Don't spout nonsense. Not many of those women have slept with me. Suyu knew that Huamin would see different women enter and leave his room every day at the hospital. Naturally, he would make the connection. How many is not many? Huamin looked at Suyu, amused. Why should I explain myself to you? You're not my woman. Suyu raised his head arrogantly. Bah, don't say such unlucky things. If I were your woman, I would kill myself at the southern gate. You. Suyu rarely won when arguing with Huamin, but the strange thing was, even if he lost, he wouldn't get angry. Who was that man just now? Your boyfriend. He looks pretty bad. I can tell he's a nouveau riche. Suyu laughed mockingly. If being rich means being a nouveau riche, then you're a super nouveau riche. What? You're not happy that I'm your boyfriend? He's not my boyfriend. Don't spout nonsense. Huamin looked down at the report and replied. Suyu seemed to be in a good mood when he heard that he wasn't her boyfriend. He leaned on the desk with both hands and looked at Huamin. Do you have a boyfriend? What does that have to do with you? If you don't, I can introduce one to you. Look at my bodyguards. They're all handsome and strong. They're all better than that guy. Your bodyguards are better than you. Huamin looked up at Suyu and said. So, do you want me to introduce one to you? Suyu smiled mysteriously. Didn't the Su family start out as a bank? When did it become a marriage? Is it going to change its style? Suyu's face immediately darkened. Hey, you little brat, I'm being nice, I don't need your kindness. If there's nothing else, go back and close the door. Don't let your flirtatious news spread to every corner of the hospital. Ever since you came, the atmosphere in the hospital has become worse and worse. Those who know us think we're a sanatorium, but those who don't know might think we're a brothel. After Huamin spoke, he rolled his eyes at Suyu and returned to the on-call room with his shrimp dumplings. And Suyu was left alone at the desk. After having a delicious lunch, she looked at the time. There were still 20 minutes before work. Huamian logged into WeChat and chatted with Zhu Lingling, telling her about her encounter with Wei Yidong. Zhu Lingling was biased against Wei Yidong, so she immediately warned, ignore Wei Yidong, he's just a despicable person who takes advantage of others. Luckily, he backed off, or else Qin Chu wouldn't have let him off the hook. Huamin smiled. Oh right, did you too do it? Zhu Lingling asked nosily. No. Sigh, what the heck? Big sis, do you have sexual apathy? You've been in the same bed for so long, and nothing happened. Who would believe that? Even Zhu Lingling felt that it was unfair for Qin Chu. Huamin thought for a moment and replied, liking someone is reckless. Love is restraint. Did you know, Lingling? The deeper my feelings for Qin Chu, the more apprehensions I have. If something really happened between us one day, I feel like my mentality would be different. I don't want to criticize you, but it's not the first time. 7 years ago, didn't you get drunk and mess around? Huamin felt a little awkward at the mention of what happened 7 years ago. Back then, I was young. I didn't care about the world and didn't think about what would happen tomorrow. I just did what I loved and gave myself to him. Now that I'm older, I've become a coward. Being crazy is just a sign of being young and ignorant. I'm very rational now. But have you thought about it? If you get pregnant, Qin Chu's mother might accept you for the sake of her grandson, Zhu Lingling suggested. But have you thought about it? What if I give birth and the conflict between us hasn't been resolved? The child will have to suffer the same pain as me. When that happens, Qin Chu will be the only one in trouble. So, are you still thinking about divorcing him? Zhu Lingling asked with a voice message. Chapter 244. I don't know, who knows what's going to happen in the future? To be honest, I didn't even dare to think that one day I'd be by Chin-Chu's side and live such a simple life with him. I don't know what's going to happen or what I'll face in the future. I can only take one step at a time. That's good, you don't have to think about those useless things. How have you been? Have you gotten over your breakup? I've successfully entered another relationship, haha, Zhu Lingling announced proudly. Okay, you win. Haven't you heard of this saying? If you want to walk out of a relationship completely, the only way is to throw yourself into another relationship. What kind of person is this? Huamin thought that Lingling's job was a bit complicated. Whenever people heard that she was a stewardess, they would think of her seductive uniform and would have a bias against her job. Plus, with Zhu Lingling's delicate face, customers would often ask for her contact information. He's a rich kid, and not just any rich kid. I heard that he hangs out with Su Yu a lot. He even said that he'd take me to meet young Master Su one day. I'm looking forward to it. Don't meet young Master Su if you can. You'll be disappointed. Huh. You've met him? He's recuperating at my place. He's like an ancestor all day long. Everyone in the hospital wants to take a board and offer him to the gods. Really? Haha, tell me, what's Su Yu like in person? Is he as good-looking as in photos? Does he have a nice voice? Wasn't he being very generous? Does he have a lot of girlfriends? Is Zhao Qingya, the popular actress, having an affair with him? Zhu Lingling asked a bunch of questions. In the end, Huamin only replied, Su Yu is a super annoying guy. He's arrogant and bad-tempered. He's not one of the four princes. He's more like a Tyrannosaurus Rex ready to spit fire at any moment. Ha 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 ha, this is the first time I've heard someone say that about Su Yu. You're such a weirdo. I'm telling the truth. It's up to you to believe me. I know. You only have eyes for your almighty Qin. No matter how good other men are, they won't enter your eyes. After chatting with Zhu Lingling for a while, she got off WeChat to get to work. When she went back home after work, she inadvertently looked at the calendar and found that Ning Jiyuan's wedding was in a few days. During dinner, was to get married to get to the wedding to get to Qin to get to Ning to get to Qin to get married to Qin's tea? Yeah, Huati to get to be to get to two to get to that's to be the tea have to gives to get to be to tea. To get to it. Tea to gets to get to Qin tea to get to know to be to get to rich. Tea to get to be to him to be to get to be a to get to s to get the money to get to the to him to get to be to give tea to be it be to get to be given to be given. $100,000 is too much? It seems like we have different values. Don't worry about it and listen to me. I'll get the finance department to transfer the money to you tomorrow. Just go and get the gift, but don't eat there. Come back after you've given me the money. Huamin nodded, I know, but you don't have to transfer the money to me. I still have a lot in my card. Chin-Chu reached out his book and patted Huamin's head lovingly. Listen to me, be a good girl. The next morning, not long after Chin-Chu got to work, Huamin received the money transfer. It was another $200,000. Chin-Chu, how generous are you to spend $200,000 on your love rival? Are you the idiot with too much money? 3 days passed quickly. Huamian struggled for a long time and finally decided to wear a black Chanel dress, which was elegant and classy. She went to the 3rd floor of Shengjing Hotel by herself. From afar, she saw Ning Jiyuan in his groom's suit, greeting the guests with a fake smile on his face. When he saw Huamian, his eyes flashed with surprise. Mion. He called out her name, just like he always did. Chapter 245. Most of the time, when Ning Jiyuan saw Huamin, she was dressed in a loose white lab coat. Now that she saw Huamin in an elegant black socialite dress, she was stunned. Huamin's hair wasn't long, it only reached her shoulders. To match the dress, she tied her hair up in a bun and pinned it with a crystal hair clip. Even though she was here for the wedding and not to steal the bride's limelight, she couldn't lose in terms of presents. Congratulations on your wedding. Huamin handed her a red packet. Ning Jiyuan took it and put it in her shirt pocket. Then, she smiled and said, "Thank you." Huimin nodded and didn't say anything else. "You're very beautiful today." Ning Jiyuan actually thought, "You look better today than you did at your university graduation ceremony." However, she was too embarrassed to talk to Huimin about their university days. At that time, there were no materialistic things involved, it was just pure feelings. Huimin was about to say something when Wu Xiaoxue walked out with the help of 2 bridesmaids. She shouted from afar, "Jiyuan. Sorry, I have to go over for a bit. Hurry and find a seat." Ning Jiyuan jogged towards Wu Xiaoxue. Huimin turned around and walked towards the door. She wasn't in the mood to sit down and watch the ceremony. It wasn't because she was jealous, nor was it because she couldn't get over it. She just felt that they weren't her best friends, so why should she waste her time with them? When she walked out, she bumped into President Wu at the entrance of the hotel. His male assistant was beside him. Huimin. President Wu greeted him first. "President Wu." Huimin nodded. "Are you used to Southside? I heard you're doing well." "Yeah, I'm used to it. The leaders at Southside take good care of me." "That's good. I'll go over for an inspection when I have time. I'll talk to you alone then." "All right." After bidding farewell to President Wu, Huimin walked out of the hotel. She took a deep breath and called Qin Chu. "I just came out from Ning Jiyuan's wedding." "Yes. He's dressed like a country bumpkin today. He's nothing compared to our Mr. Qin." For the first time, Huimin actually started to flatter him. However, as the saying goes, flattery never fails. Qin Chu enjoyed it very much. The corners of his mouth twitched in satisfaction. "There aren't many people who can compete with me." Of course, of course." Huimin echoed with a smile. "Did you give the cash gift?" Qin Chu asked again. "Ahem. I did, but I didn't give you the amount you asked for." Huimin was ready to come clean. "Then how much will you give?" 300,000. Qin Chu thought she gave him more because she was soft-hearted. But, even if she gave him 500,000, it wouldn't affect their family's financial situation. "No." "Then how much?" 500,000. 1 million. Qin Chu was very curious about how much this girl gave her ex 200. 200. Qin Chu thought he heard wrong and repeated himself. "Yeah, 200 yuan. I thought about it, but I still can't bear to part with so much money. Although you're rich, the money belongs to us. Why should we give it to Ning Jiyuan and Wu Xiaoxue? We can't go against money. Based on my relationship with Ning Jiyuan, we're university alumni at most, and Wu Xiaoxue and I are colleagues who don't get along well. We're friends for 100 yuan each. I did the math, and 200 yuan is enough." After Qin Chu heard what she said, he chuckled quietly. "What are you laughing at?" Huimin was a little helpless. "Good job, honey." Qin Chu was amused by the unexpected gift. He also thought that Huimin hated evil people as if they were her enemies. After hanging up the phone, the corners of Qin Chu's mouth were still slightly raised. Assistant Yang walked in with some documents. When he saw his boss smiling so brightly, he immediately asked, "Boss, did something good happen today?" "Yeah. Can you share it with me?" Assistant Yang ran over and asked. "No." Assistant Yang, "Fine, it wasn't the first time his boss was so stubborn." Luckily, he was already used to it. That night, when Ning Jiyuan and Wu Xiaoxue returned to their new house to count the cash gifts, they saw Huimin's name on it. Wu Xiaoxue immediately snatched it from Ning Jiyuan's hands. "Xiaoxue, what are you doing? I want to see how much your old lover spent," Wu Xiaoxue said mockingly. Chapter 246. When Wu Xiaoxue opened the red envelope and took out the 2 notes inside, her face fell. She pointed at Ning Jiyuan and asked, "See, what did I tell you? You shouldn't have told her that this woman spent 200 yuan. That's not even enough for me to eat breakfast. How could she have the nerve to spend so much money on me?" Ning Jiyuan said. "Our banquet costs 15,800 yuan, and she spent 200 yuan. How shameless can she be? She didn't eat. She left after she paid." Ning Jiyuan retorted. You're observant enough. There were so many people, but you still remember whether she ate or not. Ning Jiyuan, what do you mean? Are you still unable to forget Huamin? Xiaoxue, you're thinking too much. If I couldn't forget her, would I have married you? That's hard to say. Maybe you married me for a reason. After all, my family paid for the house and car, and your future career will depend on my uncle's promotion, right? Otherwise, how could you, a graduate from a third-rate medical school, become a full-time employee so quickly? Wu Xiaoshue's words revealed her contempt for Ning Jiyuan. Men had self-esteem. After being provoked by Wu Xiaoxue, Ning Jiyuan was a little angry. If that's the case, I might as well go back to Huamin. She's the illegitimate daughter of the Hua family. Compared to her, isn't the Hua family more attractive? Well, Ning Jiyuan, you're finally telling the truth, aren't you? You regret it, don't you? Then let's get a divorce. Who wants to marry you? I want to abort this child. I don't want to live with someone like you. I know that other than Huamin, there's only Huamin in your mind. I hate this woman so much. I never want to hear her name. After speaking, Wu Xiaoxue threw the 200 yuan and the red envelope at Ning Jiyuan's face. Then, she opened the door and left. Ning Jiyuan sat on the wedding bed dispiritedly. He was not in the mood to chase after her. Wu Xiaoxue was a classic example of a princess with a disease. She was very pretentious and would complain whenever she was unhappy. Her attitude towards Ning Jiyuan's parents wasn't very friendly either. Today, Wu Xiaoshue's parents and uncle were sitting on the stage. Ning Jiyuan's parents didn't go on stage from beginning to end. It was obvious how much they looked down on his family. On the surface, those colleagues were also envious of him, saying that he had married an old wife. In fact, people were still gossiping behind his back about him marrying into the family and becoming a live-in son-in-law. The Wu family was rich and powerful, and Wu Xiaoxue had the temper of a spoiled brat. Ning Jiyuan felt that he couldn't take it anymore. Now that she thought about it, Huamin was much better than Wu Xiaoxue except for the fact that he wasn't that attentive to her. After Wu Xiaoxue slammed the door and left the house, she sped all the way to a nightclub that she frequented. Then, she called a few of her best friends over and started drinking, ignoring the fact that she was pregnant. In the corner, a woman in a sexy short skirt looked at Wu Xiaoxue, who was not far away. Isn't that the bride-to-be today? Why isn't she at home on her wedding night? How interesting. Man, what are you looking at? A man put his arm around He-Man's waist. I saw an enemy and I'm in a bad mood. Who is it? I'll help you teach her a lesson. The man looked very loyal. Wu Xiaoxue played in the nightclub for more than an hour. She checked her phone several times, but Ning Jiyuan didn't call her. In the end, she stormed out of the door, ready to go home and ask him if he still wanted to live. However, he didn't expect to bump into a black car when he was crossing an intersection. Wu Xiaoxue screamed. Her head hit the steering wheel hard and she instantly lost consciousness. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.